What's going on? I am Nando.
And I am DJ.
And I am Diggins.
And this is Mostly Nitpicking, a podcast where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. Woohoo!
Woo! Yeah! Hooray! This week.
What are we doing this week, guys?
Oh my gosh. We're reviewing a movie that I don't care for.
Oh, DJ, we're not at that part of the podcast yet.
Yeah, DJ, don't spoil it for the people.
Oh, my bad. This week, we're gonna check out the ape wonder of the world.
Oh, very
stealing
good.
my joke, I see.
Hey, if it doesn't happen before we hit record, it doesn't count.
That's true.
It's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Same thing.
We're doing a movie that threatens to be the only time we've ever done a podcast shorter than the runtime of the movie.
Yeah, I would say the other time this might be possible is the Snyder Cut, but we're definitely going to go long on that one. Like, there's going to be so much stuff
Not
there.
that long, right?
Like,
Well,
yeah,
we'll
but
see.
if there's ever been a movie we could talk about for hours, it's the Snyder Cut. So, like, if it were 7 hours long, yeah, that's probably longer than our podcast will be. But, like, 4 hours? I'm like, if there was going to be a 4-hour podcast, it would be about Zack Snyder Jesus Simulator or whatever this thing's called.
Did you see the Zack Snyder PR tour has started?
No. What is it?
He's doing a bunch of like profiles, like with Vanity Fair and stuff. And part of it is reasonable, where it's like talking about the tragedy that, with his daughter's death and everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. He seems like an okay guy. That was a horrible thing that happened to his family, whatever. But then it's also like, and Warner Brothers just wouldn't let him execute his vision, his artistic vision. This great artist who just wanted to see through his view of superheroes as gods above humans. And I'm like, listen, Warner Brothers did not believe in him because they're, money-grubbing monsters, although I'm sure they are. They didn't believe in him because he did it twice and it was bad both times.
Yeah. He wanted to... And his badness seeped into the other movies. So, like, your Suicide Squad had Snyderiness kind of, like, stuck onto it. And it was like, ugh, it's poisoning the whole world. And also, part of the publicity tour, and I know he was doing the publicity tour, but I have seen interviews with him, he's also like, hey, my fans aren't toxic, they're all great, and there's no problems, and I think it's fun when they say, fucking give us the Snyder Cut on tweets about the Muppets. So, I don't know, man, that guy might stink. He might not be a great guy. I don't know what to tell you.
Better than a Joss Whedon? Sure, as far as we know.
Yes.
But, that's still, he could have done a little more to be like, hey guys, don't be toxic about the Snyder Cut.
Right? Or just be like, yes, it's a small portion of my fans, a very, very small portion. Most of them are this, but he said none of them. I'm like, come on, dude. Just give an inch. Give a half an inch for all the people that have to, like, sit through just nothing but complaints. And it's tough. But also he did the Jesus picture, so it's like, he wants this. This is what he wants.
Fucking Jesus picture.
God, that picture is designed to make me unhappy. That's why it exists in the world.
To make
I'm a
everyone
solipsist
unhappy.
It makes me happy.
Why? Explain, please.
Because it's stupid. That's why. I want this movie to be as stupid as possible. Here's why. Because, I think the problem with Zack Snyder's movies, one of them, is that he can't humanize any of his characters, right? Like, and he turns them all into Jesus metaphors. So I like the idea that he's just like, you know what, everybody in the movie is a Jesus metaphor. That part I think is fun. What if everybody in the movie was Jesus? That's something we haven't tried yet. That's new. So how will it be, Will he and Superman talk about how they both have problems connecting with people in the world? As this one does. I don't know. What do you guys think of the Jesus guy?
I think it's awful. It doesn't, like Dickens said, it's just out there to frustrate people. And there's no artistry behind that. It's like, oh, you dressed up Jared Leto Joker as Jesus because you want to get a rise out of people. It feels like he's being a troll. That's what a troll does.
No, I mean, yeah, it was a troll move when in the trailer for the last one he said the society thing. I feel like at this point I want him to troll as hard as possible. Yeah, no, troll, baby, troll. It's the only way this movie will have any impact on the world, is if it is the trolliest version of itself. Then people will remember it. That's about it, though. I don't know. It's great.
This whole movie's a troll.
Listen, let's not make this whole podcast about the Snyder Cut, because we're going to have a whole podcast about the Snyder Cut.
Might have
It's coming,
depending
too.
on how they break this shit out.
When's it coming out? It's soon, right?
It comes
Sometime
out
in
before
March.
Godzilla vs. Kong, which is the crazy part. Like, Godzilla Kong is 31 March. I think it's like 18 March.
18 March. What are you, British?
Oh, what?
Since when do you say dates like that?
That's how we say them at work.
Oh, okay.
Because it's how the military
at
does
Big
it.
Ben. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, fucking.
DJ's like,
Get
we're
your fish and
recording
chips
at we're recording at 2 a.m. in the morning because I'm that's what time it is
listen.
right now.
I see you two. Don't you go and besmirch this good man podcast, DJ. He just says the dates like the Brits because we are the superior people, the superior country. That's what you need to know. So if he says 18 March and 31 March, you don't make fun of him. That's wrong.
Can we go more than like 2 podcasts without an appearance by veteran British actor Michael Caine?
No, I love coming on. You should keep inviting me. Maybe if you stop inviting me, I'll stop coming on.
Never.
He's in
Stop
a lot of
promoting
movies,
to
too.
You.
Michael Caine, what did you think of this movie? Well, no, how about this? Michael Caine, what's your favorite movie with a big giant monster in it?
My favorite movie with a big giant monster in it is one movie I've been in. Now you see me. Because, in my opinion, there's no bigger monster than Jesse Eisenberg. I hate Jesse Eisenberg so much, he's a monster. I can't stand him.
Michael Caine, are you aware that Jesse Eisenberg isn't actually Mark Zuckerberg? He just played him in that one movie.
I can't tell the difference. I gotta be honest. Also, just in my opinion, if you, in a movie, portray a real-life person, and that person's a dingus, and you're kind of a dingus too.
Wait a second. Michael Caine, have you never portrayed a real-life person in your movie?
Not a bad one. Not a bad real-life person. Every real-life person I've portrayed is an upstanding citizen, I assure you. Don't check it.
Even Austin Powers' his dad? I don't know.
He's not a real-life person, though, is he?
I mean, it's a Secret Service. Maybe we didn't hear about it. Maybe he's...
All right, well... You've had a career that's lasted over 70 years, so this is going to take a minute. But, you can keep talking while I look through this.
Real quick.
I don't know if this is necessary.
He doesn't do a lot of biopics, You don't do a lot of biopics. Miss Congeniality, you were good in that.
Because I'm smart. Because I know that the easiest way to get cancelled is to wind up playing someone who later we find out is a bad person.
I just want to go through his whole filmography and then get to starting from 2021, then get all the way down to 1950, and it's like Hitler, the biopic, and it's like, why was it last? He didn't do.
You did play a lieutenant. Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead in the movie Zulu, who was a real person who served in the British military in the late 1800s, fighting in a bunch of colonial conflicts. So
he's a fine, upstanding person. Hey, do not besmirch the name of Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead. I researched him extensively. Is this a good person?
I got to admit, I'm very impressed that you actually said the name correctly.
Well, of course.
You were in
Dunkirk.
Fan. Is that guy somebody?
But he just plays random dude, doesn't he, in Dunkirk?
Yeah.
I don't think he plays a historical character.
Actually,
I don't think there's really any historical characters in Dunkirk to begin with, other than Churchill's voice at the end.
How about King of Thieves? It's a true crime movie about a crew of retired crooks who pull off a major heist in London's jewelry district. What starts off as their last criminal hurrah turns into a brutal nightmare due to greed. You're the main guy in that.
Like I said, it's totally... Oh, I played Joseph Stalin.
There you go. In what? Muppet Christmas Carol?
Then there were giants.
A 1994 American War television miniseries.
Apparently I played Joseph Stalin.
Well, there you go.
John Lithgow was FDR and Bob Hoskins was Churchill.
I can see Hoskins as Churchill. The FDR one's a little bit of a stretch.
It was a good time. Anyway, I have to go back into Big Ben so I could ring the bell at the hour. That's my job. So I'll see you next time.
Is that always you, or do different British celebrities have to do it every day?
It's a well-kept secret, but the British Illuminati, various... Actually, when you're knighted, that's part of your duties now, is that you have to go to Big Ben and ring the bell.
That would make sense.
We have to do some kind of job where we don't get our tax benefits and checks from the crown. Anyway, top of the morning to you. See you on 25 March. This is Michael Caine signing off.
All right, goodbye, Michael Caine. Wow, Michael Caine. The Michael Caine.
Yeah, don't make fun of me for how I say
Joseph
dates.
Stalin.
Just, Yeah, can you believe he played Stalin and thought that was totally okay? We might have to cancel Michael Caine.
It's a pretty crazy, it's a pretty crazy part. However, maybe he played it with some, maybe he found an element of the character I never understood. I don't know. I'm surprised he forgot about that time he was in a Jaws movie, to be honest. Talk about giant monster movies he's in.
Well, he has very strong feelings about Jesse Eisenberg.
Clearly,
really strong.
Yeah, he really hates that guy.
I mean,
who doesn't?
blame him, right?
Worst Lex Luthor ever. Am I right?
Yeah.
think so.
I don't know. Kevin Spacey's pretty high on mine. I get it, Diggins. You're a big fan of him.
I completely forgot.
On
Kevin
moral
Spacey
grounds,
played
I
Lex
can't.
Luthor.
I can't support that. Speaking of guys that do bad things in New York City, but not New York City. Yeah. Let's talk about this movie. This week we're talking about a movie called King Kong, 2005. Let's say.
Yeah.
It is
Peter
one
Jackson's
of the King Kong
King
movies. That's a good way to. Yeah, Peter Jackson's King Kong. It came out in 2005. Like I said, it's directed by Peter Jackson. Blech. It stars Naomi Watts, Jack Black, and Adrian Brody. It's like 3 and change hours long. It's quite long. It was the first movie Peter Jackson did after Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
This was his blank check, It's like, hey, you're on top of the world. What do you want to do? And he was like this.
Actually, that I don't think it was his blank check. I think he was offered it. He did not decide to do this.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. This felt like a blank check. It
But
felt
he
like
does,
maybe okay.
He does love King Kong, though. Like, he is
maybe it wasn't
super into the original King Kong.
Maybe it wasn't a blank check necessarily, but I think it was a blank check in terms of like he got away with doing whatever he wanted in a situation where any other director would have been reined into high hell. Like, there's no way.
That I don't know the specifics of how things went behind the scenes, but that feels very true.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm looking at his filmography and trying to figure out what hit that, like Tintin might be his blank check. That seems like something he really was like, Tintin's the next big thing, you guys. I want to be the main. And I it's not too bad. It's kind of fun. He produced it, he didn't direct it, but it was like kind of his baby. But anyway, guys, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about King Kong, directed by Peter Jackson. Guys, this is a movie we all watched.
That's true.
And in one sitting for sure, because
I did watch it in one sitting because I'm not a maniac.
In a million years. I watched it like 4 sittings. Guys, let's hear it.
Yes.
What's the IMDb summary for King Kong?
Oh, God, no.
I'm going to let Diggins go first. I think he won last week. And I'll tell you this. There's one sentence and no names.
Not that it matters.
Not
but
no names of characters. Oh, DJ won?
Because I remember, because I rarely win, so it was very important to me.
All right, well, you go first. Or you can decide. Do you want to go first or second?
I want to make Diggins go first.
All right.
All right.
Diggins, okay. King Kong. Like I said, first name or no like character names and one sentence. Go crazy.
Okay. A film crew goes ashore on the mysterious Skull Island, determined to film the greatest movie of all time, but wind up finding far more danger than they bargained for. That was bad. That was really bad, but I'm going to stick by it.
All right.
I actually really liked it.
DJ, what about you?
All right. I actually really like how Diggins started it. I don't want to be different. Okay. A group of sailors, actors, and filmers travel to the uncharted Skull Island in order to film the movie of a lifetime, but later find a creature beyond their comprehension that they realize will bring more glory than any mere film. I think Diggins won. I think this is really good.
Oh, yeah, Diggins won, for sure, without a doubt.
Damn!
Here's where Diggins won for me. First of all, Diggins described the team primarily as movie makers or like filmmakers.
I know, I didn't want to steal that from him. I liked that part. Anyways.
Instead, you called them like filmers or something like that.
Okay, it's fine.
Which, fine. That's not where you lost or won.
Okay.
Here's the real title. A greedy film producer assembles a team of movie makers and sets out for the infamous Skull Island where they find more than just cannibalistic natives. So it was the more than blank part that Diggins won me with, where it got to like we're not talking about King Kong, but we're kind of hinting at it in the IMDb summary for a movie called King Kong. So fuck it, just put King Kong in it. I don't know. Who's like, I want a movie with cannibalistic natives and something else more than that as well, but I don't want to know if it's King Kong going in. IMDb, don't spoil it for me.
I mean, that makes sense.
It's fair.
Whatever.
So yeah, Diggins, congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
job.
I've won
Kick my
so
ass.
many of those that, you know, I don't feel anything at all when I win one.
It's
anymore.
still fun for me, you know, because there was a point. Okay, so when you were reading it, or not reading it, but when you were doing it, you were like, oh, I was like, close. And then you got to the point where I thought you could win or lose, and you won. You like got to, at the very end where you were like, they find more than what they bargained for. I think that was the phrase you used. That was very good. But so that means you get to go first when we talk about the movie. Diggins, what did you think of Peter Jackson's 2005's King's Kongs?
So I actually watched this King's Kongs when it first came out in 2005. I saw it in a movie theater, if you remember those.
Oh, yes.
And I remember not liking it very much. So I was a little surprised on this viewing where I kind of enjoyed this movie. There were parts of it that I felt worked really well. But it is so much longer than it needs to be. It is literally double the length of the original movie, and it feels like it. It feels like someone took the original and consciously chose, like, made the decision, this has to be twice as long, and just padded it from there. There's so much in this movie that is unnecessary, so much chaff that could be cut. And that just really weighs it down. It really, really needed a much harsher editing pass. But there's some stuff in here that really works. Jack Black as like charismatic con man character is really fun, and he's really good at it, which is kind of surprising. You don't really think of Jack Black as being a dramatic actor very often. And there's other characters in this movie that are like fun. It's kind of going for this pulpy adventure serial kind of vibe that works sometimes. And the parts of it that do work, I think, are fun. But overall, way too long. And that just drags it down to not being worth the watch.
All right. DJ, what about you? What did you think of King Kong 2005, Peter Jackson?
Yeah, I agree with Diggins, is that this is just a too long movie. No, what's funny is there are parts of it that I enjoy, and most of it is not on Skull Island. I just really don't care for like a lot of the stuff that's going on Skull Island for whatever reason. I just think that, like, for me it's like, okay, this is fine, but we're just here for too long, and I get that it's the point of the movie, but yeah, it's there's just a lot of nothing happening here. I told Diggins this before we got on. If this movie came out within like the last 5 years, like Peter Jackson gets to do a King Kong, I think this movie's two movies. Like,
God.
I think we get to focus in on certain places. Maybe the Skull Island part and New York is mostly its own movie. And everything, or rather, like, after capturing Kong and then going to New York as its own movie, and everything leading up to Kong's capture, the climax of one movie is like the first part of the movie. But it just felt like I wanted more in some parts and needed less in others. So not only was it like it was too long and it was inefficient cutting, at that length I wanted different things there if you're gonna give me a 3-hour movie. So yeah, just very inefficient, I felt.
Okay.
What about you, good
No,
Nando?
I see what you're saying about it would be two movies. I thought about that too. I was like, where would they cut this? Because you can't cut out the end bit and make that its own movie, because we know what it is. Like, there's nothing there. Unless they're like, it's not going to go the way you think. Maybe he'll get out, like, go to New Jersey or something.
Kong lives, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a movie, or that's something. But yeah, the whole, like, island stuff is the movie. And then the end bit is just the stuff that they're doing because that's how this movie has to go. But it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, that doesn't go anywhere. There's things that it does. But, I don't think you could make that into its own movie just because it's like, yeah, we know what he's going to go.
Right.
He's going to go crazy and climb up the thing.
I mean, they made The Hobbit 3 movies, so that's why I feel like, yeah, they'll do it.
Well,
Like,
the problem with that is, like, it was supposed to be, I want to say, Guillermo del Toro, and then he pulled out or he was fired or something. I don't know what it was at the last minutes. And Peter Jackson came in and like was the director. So I don't know how much he wanted to make that into a bazillion movies, but like, or so I don't know how much that is his like go-to move. Like, yeah, let's make it a couple more movies that I know. But anyway, I thought this movie was, I was like, I saw this movie in theaters. I remember seeing it back in 2005, probably because I was like, oh my God, a couple of people from Oscar stuff. And also the guy from Lord of the Rings and a big CGI gorilla. And I don't remember if I knew then that I was going to be seeing a movie that was 3+ hours long. Right. Watching it a second time. And I've seen, you know what, and I've seen the clips a fair amount of times just on YouTube. They'll like show up as like the fight between T-Rexes, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll watch that. Watch that for like 5 minutes. So I've seen bits of it out of context, but seeing the whole thing together a second time, I think if it ended where they get Kong and that was the end, this would be a pretty good movie. I kind of liked it, and I even liked the parts that I didn't think were very good, like Adrian Brody's sexual chemistry and stuff. The parts that even I didn't buy, I was like into, because I was like, yeah, the movie, I was kind of happy for the movie to think that he is a hunky guy. And then obviously Jack Black is amazing, and not like amazing, but he's very good. And a lot of the supporting cast members are pretty fun to watch. Like, I think Adrian Brody is fine, but I don't think he's doing anything particularly interesting, and I think part of the failure of this movie is Hollywood hadn't quite figured out what to do with him yet, and they hadn't figured out if he could be the, Ian Malcolm, even though that is, I think, what they wanted from this role. And I think the actress that plays the King Kong, like Naomi Watts, who plays Ann Darrow, I think she was pretty good. I don't know really what happened to her in life, like where she's been, but I guess she was in the new Twin Peaks show, which I didn't see.
I feel like she becomes good in this movie, but the start, I really did not buy her character.
Yeah, I think this movie has a couple of hurdles that it has to overcome early on that I think in another movie, if you started with the island part, or just like if there wasn't so much build-up, it'd be a little bit easier to tell, like, what are we going for here? How satirical is this movie trying to be? How much is this movie kind of half self-aware? How much is she supposed to kind of feel like a blank slate starlet kind of person? And then like later on, we get more of her character. But I do think in the beginning of the movie, especially when she meets Jack Black and all that stuff, she plays it very like, I don't know, there's not a whole lot there. I think the parts with her and King Kong worked. Honestly, like, and you know what? The King Konginess of it I also thought was pretty good. It, didn't age perfectly, but I think as an effect it works pretty well. I think the parts that I didn't like were were the bugs. I hated all the bugs.
The
was
effects
mostly
of
bugs.
this movie aged way better than I thought they would.
Mm-hmm. The part that didn't age well was the stuff right before the fight, where King Kong picked up Naomi Watts by one hand and threw her onto his back, and I was like, whoa, that looks weird. But then
Also,
when she got on his back and he beat up some Tyrannosaurus, I was all with it.
Yeah, the parts where he's like carrying her around and we like follow the camera on her and she's shaking around like she's on an amusement park ride, they're very bad.
That.
They look very bad.
I think if this was a 3D movie, they would have been like, I guess we can't do that. But it was, I think this feels like it probably should have been a 3D movie, In fact, you know what? The 3D is like, and obviously that's a stupid gimmick full of nonsense, but it could have been kind of cool because like the vertigo of being on the World Trade Center, the Empire State Building, like the tallest building in New York at the time, would have been kind of cool to see from in like 3D perspective. But anyway, yeah. So all in all, I actually kind of liked it. I think it was paced pretty well up until the New York bits, and then I think it really kind of lost me. But I thought most of the bits
45 minutes of New York content in this movie.
Yeah, honestly, the thing that takes it over 2.5 hours, where I would start going like, "Wait, this is a really long movie." Just if I had to go to the bathroom or something, like you would just be like, "This is quite a lot of time." But when the like all of this stuff that takes place on the island and before, I think before the island stuff is fine. If it ends with the island, that's an okay movie. And I think there's some parts of it that I actually really liked. And I think this is a way better movie than Godzilla. And I think this is a better movie than Godzilla King of Monsters. Probably not the 2014 Godzilla, but otherwise that makes it like the second best one of these that's been released in my lifetime in America. So low bar. But
if
yeah,
we're combining these two franchises as the legendary MonsterVerse, like Legendary is doing, I guess second best. I don't know.
I guess there's
Skull
Island.
I have more affection for Skull Island than you do, although it is amazing.
Same.
Well,
like.
So I don't know.
You could watch Skull Island like twice instead of this.
Yeah, no, that's
like how long is Skull Island? Even 90 minutes?
Oh,
Probably
definitely.
Like
Skull Island's like at least 2 hours.
It came out in 2017.
I mean, there's all the Monarch bullshit. I'm sure there's plenty of things in that movie that you could also cut, but
it's 2 hours flat.
Yeah.
So like basically you get 1.5 Skull Islands instead of 1 King Kong. Like give me 1.5 Skull Islands, please.
I would take.
It at least gives me Sam Jackson. Like, there's no one in this movie that gives me that, like, super, like, charisma bump that, like, wakes me up when I nod off while they're all being eaten by spiders and shit like that.
Out of your mind?
What?
Jack Black is putting, like, he's speaking the words off of the page and spitting them into gold. Like, it's
like
he's
King
perfect.
Kong carrying Naomi Watts through the jungle. He is heroically lifting this movie onto his back and carrying it all the way to the finish line. That's the worst part of the New York sequence. He's basically not in it.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. Like, that's an okay defense, except he disappeared. He turned to fucking Thanos dust.
Well, doesn't Sam Jackson, like, die 2/3 of the way through the King Kong one? The other one?
But
lives
like
the whole time.
It's almost worse that in this movie, Jack Black is alive, but just not around.
Oh, my goodness.
Until he shows up to say the final line.
That was great. I feel like Jack Black in this movie, at least more than Sam Jackson in the other one. Not that I have anything against Sam Jackson. I think Sam Jackson is Samuel L. Jackson, the actor who can act and, like, say lines with gravitas, saying those lines in an army uniform or whatever, because they were all army men in those movies, right, or something. That's what he did. I think Jack Black was taking a big swing at a character that was dumb, but I loved, and I will take that over Sam Jackson-ness any day. Like, I don't think Sam Jackson was like, I think Sam Jackson was just doing a Nick Fury or, kind of his normal business.
But I would like to remove points from this movie for when I say there's a charismatic void here. If the answer is Jack Black, it's a shame that he is gone for so much of the movie.
Well, yeah, I think that's why I think the island parts of this movie, for me, island parts of this movie stacked up against the island parts of Kong Skull Island, which is the whole movie, this movie is better. The bit at the end where he punches the planes, fun, not worth it. Good for posters, I guess. But, like, besides that, I think I liked the characters. I liked how much so many of the characters were, like, weird little cliches in this one. That was kind of fun. There were some of them that I was like, what the fuck, who gives a shit about this kid? But besides that, almost every other one where it was like, I was like, yeah, tell me what you have a bad feeling about. Tell me about, like, the stories you've heard about the evil mist. And yeah,
I will say, I'm not DJ. I have an attention span that's longer than a couple seconds. And
Whoa.
I am not opposed to movies being long on principle. I love a nice long movie that justifies being long. I don't have a problem with a movie that's like 3.5 hours long if it is, written and such that it feels like 3.5 hours long is the right length for that movie. What I don't like is this movie feels incredibly padded, like they were deliberately shooting for a really long runtime, and they just needed to add in more and more stuff until they got there.
Yeah, it is a weird case, because it is, like, I think you get to the 2.5 hour mark, and the movie is clearly over. And it's like, all right, time for movie 2. Here's a new setting. All the characters are dressed differently. And it's like, it's such a hard reset for your brain that you're like, oh, right, we're still going. Like, I think you can, for me, even the parts that I don't think worked incredibly well on the island and before the island, I was at least like caught up in enough that it didn't feel like I was watching a 2.5 hour long movie as much as a lot of these do. But then once we passed into the New York part, then it felt like a really, really long, like extra length movie. I do agree. I think there were some like character beats that were not super necessary, and I also think there was a lot of like running around in this movie that was a little like kind of, I don't know, just like these guys are running from this thing and then they're trying to go to this thing and they get back to the thing, but then that one's gone. But I think a lot of it worked for me in a way that I was not surprised, or was surprised by, was not expecting. So DJ,
Yes.
you can go first. Who is your favorite actor in this? Colin Hanks? Did you like him?
Love me, Colin Hanks.
It was fun.
Who did the mocap for King Kong? That's probably my favorite actor.
Take a wild guess, DJ.
Oh my god, I'm getting old. The name is escaping me.
Andrew Festival. I think that's his name, right? That's his name.
I don't get the joke.
Because you can't think of his name.
Yeah,
Once
'cause
you
you
think
can't
of his name, you'll be like, dang, of course.
We all know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drew Carnival, as he was. The famous Australian or whatever actor that we all love. Ulysses Claw.
Yeah, we love
Andy Clown Pit.
Andy Serkis.
That's right, Andy Serkis.
He is my favorite, probably actually.
He was fun in this. I liked him as a person in this too. I thought his character, what was he, like the chef or whatever?
Yeah, the cook.
He was fun. He did those lines that he did.
You know who my favorite was? Thomas Crest.
Yeah, that's right.
The prototype for
Crestman.
Michael Fassbender?
Probably actually my favorite.
What was this guy's deal, huh? He's like, was this character like, he was like a evil like animal smuggler? Is that his whole character deal?
Because Jack Black has that line, "This is what you do. You smuggle animals." And it's like, is that what he does?
I know.
Yeah, earlier, DJ, if you had watched the movie in one sitting, you might recall that earlier in the movie when they're finding a place for Jack, Adrian Brody's character, to sleep on the ship, they go through all the animal cages, and then he accidentally finds all the chloroform. The big dumb bottles labeled chloroform, and the implication is, and the racist caricature of a Chinese person who serves as the cook's assistant.
Oh yeah, that guy
is like, oh yeah, the skipper loves collecting rare animals. You know, we do it all the time.
All the time.
Even though it doesn't really come up again, and in fact, the captain does not seem super into the idea of capturing any animals from this island. It is
he has to be reminded that that's an option for him.
Yeah, it is established very early that is a thing he does.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that guy, yeah, he was an interesting one. Diggins, what about you? Who's your favorite character?
Well, DJ said all of them already. Is the thing.
No,
I picked one.
He missed one fabulous character.
Well, obviously, Jack Black, we've already discussed, heroically carries this movie on his back.
I'm going to say there's another stud in here, another star.
Okay, well, obviously,
I couldn't look away from.
Known Theseus lover Nando, of course, would love this character, but I'll leave it for
known
him.
Monsterverse lover. I just want my Monsterverse characters, you know?
He's in this movie. It's crazy.
I couldn't believe that this has never come up, and, like, how did I not know this?
Right, that he's double dipping in King Kong and... or rather, Kong v. Godzilla and Godzilla King of Monsters. And
wait, he's
movie.
in that?
Yeah, he's
Kyle
the main
Chandler.
guy.
He's the dad. He's the dad who is so upset that his son was murdered.
Oh my god, you're right! Oh, wow!
He has to give up his life of whatever and look at wolves.
He's probably remembering this right now in this moment, too. He's like, oh, yeah, it was a Godzilla, too. And King Kong, yeah, the both of them. Oh, my God.
It's bananas that he's in both.
It is, and it's never mentioned. Do you think, because we don't, okay, so the King Kong movie clearly doesn't take place in the same, like this movie does not take place in the Skull Island timeline, but maybe Doctor Strange will get him from the multiverse and get him to Kyle Chandler to be like, I am an expert at King Kong, and I'm an expert at Godzilla.
In Godzilla vs. Kong, when Kong shows up, he'll be like, gee, Lois, this is just like that time I went to the... in the 1930s when I went to that island with the big ape.
Yo, for real though, King Kong will come in and look at him and go like, huh? and then he'll look at King Kong and go, huh? And then they'll both just go in a different direction or something. That's, I mean, that would be what would happen if anybody gave a shit about this movie that we just watched.
Guys, he is going to show up at someone's door, like, ding dong, ring the bell, they open it up, and he's like, it's me, Tom Hiddleston from Kong Skull Island.
You
remember?
I mean, I do remember that. I think there's so many weird, like, this universe and all these movies. He's the only one that's, like, actually crossed over from these, these ones. Although, I don't know, I wouldn't be shocked if Colin Hanks was somewhere in the background of one of these. But I completely forgot he was in this movie until I saw it, and I was so delighted.
Well, considering he follows a pattern that many of the characters in this movie do, where you look at a character and you can tell whether or not they were in the original movie by whether or not the character makes decisions that make sense or has a character arc that goes anywhere. If the answer is no, they weren't in the original movie. If the answer is yes, then they were.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's talk about that real quick. I have not seen the original King Kong. I've seen some clips, so I kind of know what it looks like, but I haven't seen the movie. I assume, like, from talking about Diggins before, but just in general, there are parts of this movie that I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a thing from the real one, but otherwise, I think I'm just kind of guessing. And, like, it's hard to put together exactly what that is. DJ, have you ever watched King Kong, like the original one?
No, and I was going to ask, actually, like, and we were kind of alluding to it earlier, but I wasn't sure, like, what in this movie was, like, silly additions, or, yeah, we're ripping this from the original one. Not, like, ripping, but we're putting it in here because it's from the original, so an homage.
Yeah. Then Diggins, you have watched those movies, correct?
I've never, like, fully watched the original King Kong, but I'm fairly familiar with it. I will say this movie is actually surprisingly pretty faithful. The broad strokes of it are basically exactly the same. They just added a bunch of stuff and, changed a couple, the way a few things happen, but they're all still basically the same. Like the beginning, they've much expanded the beginning. The broad strokes of it, again, are basically the same. Anne Darrow is kind of like a down on her luck actress who has to be persuaded to join this crew at the last minute. And it's implied that Denham, the director, is kind of in some trouble, but they don't really get into detail about it. We don't see her work in vaudeville or him running out on creditors or anything like that.
Right.
And there's no, like, high seas drama. It's pretty much just they get on the boat. There's, like, a scene of... So Jack Driscoll, the character Jack Driscoll, was not a writer in the original movie. He is the first mate. Yeah. So they flirt a little bit, and then they're just at the island. Like, that's it. That's all it is.
Was there any writer?
No. They were making a movie, and Denham was a director, and Darrow was an actress. But I don't think... If there's a writer character, he's not very important.
Okay.
How long is the first one?
Literally half the length. It's like hour 40.
That's what they said. They were like, we're going to make this one bigger and better, and we're going to have twice as many Kongs.
Double it.
Yeah,
Double it.
Kong will be twice as tall, and the movie's going to be twice as long, and Adrian Brody's going to be twice as handsome.
As Bruce Cabot.
Twice as much chloroform. As what? Yeah, I mean, listen, I know... Where do we stand on Adrian Brody? Is he a cool guy? Is he a weirdo?
I stand nowhere. I don't know enough to know, like, what the deal is.
This was 5 years before Brody Quest came out, so he hadn't yet found his niche.
What was Brody Quest?
Are you serious? Oh, man.
Yeah, should I know what that is?
Hold on. Continue talking while I pull up Brody Quest.
Okay. So the people that don't know, Adrian Brody was in a movie called The Pianist. He kissed Harley Berry, when he got the Oscar. That was everything I knew about him. I've seen him in movies. He does all the, what's his name movie? He was in, like, the Grand Budapest Hotel and stuff like that. He seems fine. But
yeah, I think he's good in the stuff usually. He's not really a leading man type, I don't think. But
no.
Which is, what this movie wants him to be.
Why didn't Jack Black take that role?
Because he's not that either. I think Jack Black was perfectly cast.
Oh, yeah, no. Jack Black shouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. I think the movie, I don't know, let's say it's 2005. I think, like, you can't get someone, I think this character has to be kind of, not like handsome. Well, he has to be handsome, but he has to be, like, not, like, handsome. So it can't be, like, a Hugh Jackman or something, or, like, a Tom Cruise. But you get away with maybe, like, a Matt Damon or something, Ben Affleck. Something like
he
that.
could even be weird handsome, like a Frumious Bandersnatch.
That's right. This was too old for him, though. Or the other one that does those stupid movies, the Fantastic Beasts.
Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah, who was that before them? Who did those? Who was that guy?
I don't know. I'm gonna Google weird handsome man from 2000s and see what comes up.
I'm gonna do 2000s movies and just see who pops out. Like, honestly, I think Jeff Goldblum is kind of that guy. What's the name from the Spider-Man? Not Spider-Man, but his friend. That guy.
James Franco?
James Franco. I think you could I could see him in that role.
Although that'd be a little awkward now.
Honestly, I mean, like, you know.
Who was pure back then? Who could have gotten cast? And Shia LaBeouf. We could have put Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf was like a child at that point, wasn't he?
I know.
I'm trying to think.
He could have been young Sailor. What about Ryan Gosling?
Oh, I see. This was a joke about the allegations made against Shia LaBeouf. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's okay. Ryan Gosling, he might have been like fine in that kind of role into that. Like, cause you got Notebook era Ryan Gosling.
I could see a Ryan Gosling.
I think we could have gotten John Cusack, but I think we'd run into all the same problems. I want someone who's like, you know who Heath Ledger's too handsome. I feel like there are like someone a little bit younger than Robert Pattinson.
Man.
Older than Robert Pattinson. Like, he's a little too young right now, but someone like that.
What about Bryan Cranston?
Too old.
I mean, he could do it
back then.
It's not my. Yeah, I don't know.
He was already playing TV dads back then.
Yeah.
How about Joaquin Phoenix?
That would have been good.
Or Jake Gyllenhaal.
He was a heartthrob back then.
Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal. Yes, it should have been Jake Gyllenhaal. Boom. I'm not changing it. It's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay, all right, final answer.
Only other actor that's coming up on this list that I'll entertain is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, as like an actor from that time period who plays as like kind of handsome, but not like leading man handsome, but like he can be, but he can also not be in a movie, and it's like this character feels a very specific zone. And I don't not think Adrian Brody. I think Adrian Brody was right as that guy, but I don't think he was right as cool, hunky love interest guy who walks around with no shirt and immediately falls in love with what's her name. That part I didn't quite buy. Speaking of what's her name, Naomi Watts plays Ann Darrow. What do we think of her?
She's there. I actually didn't hate her. I thought she was fine.
I like her.
Yeah,
I didn't like
her. That's probably being too
at
harsh.
First, when it was like her vaudeville backstory and down on her luck actress. I don't know that it was her fault or the materials, but it all felt so broad, like it was the beginning of a musical or something, and it just really didn't work for me. But after that, once we got on the boat and everything, and she was doing stuff, she felt more natural then, and her performance grew on me over time.
And I think her Kong stuff was pretty good, like emoting with the big green hand or whatever she was standing on set with. I thought mostly worked.
With the big, like, surplus roller coaster car they put her in to serve as Kong's hand.
And then, like, what? Andy Serkis just, like, waving at her from far away, like, Kong is smiling now, like a little stage mom during a pageant. Like, I don't know how they did that. But I thought she was pretty good. I liked that she could juggle and do flips and stuff. That was fun. I imagine she did those flips for real. Like the little cartwheels.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm sure Naomi Watts can do flips.
Maybe she can. I don't know. She could juggle.
Maybe.
She really did juggle.
Did she really?
I don't know. I mean, I saw her face.
I mean,
and she was
how would
doing
they have like faked that? Yeah.
At that point, it's like might as well just learn to juggle. It's not worth it.
I mean, they also put a giant gorilla in the movie, so who knows?
But the technology wasn't that. Actually, that's a good question. Like, what was the technology breakthrough for this movie? Was it like,
juggling.
My god, that Kong is so real? Wait,
everybody was like, those balls look like they're flying in midair. Yeah, no, I mean, Kong was definitely a CGI marvel of whatever. Like, it was very. I mean, I think all the CGI, like, elements of the backgrounds and stuff was also a pretty big, like. I feel like this movie probably had the most CGI visual effect shots of its time. Like,
some of the slow motion stuff made me want to throw up. Not because it made me sick.
No, yeah, what was that?
I like when you saw the skulls. It was like, woo, 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 woo,
yeah.
woo. I'm like,
although The slow motion does result in the funniest moment in the
Yes! I was just going to say, I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree. And it's like the first maybe second time we get slow motion in the movie, and I'm like, whoa, okay, you're playing this card, which means you're really proud of it. I don't know. It was pretty wild.
I believe it was the first.
It must have been, right? Yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, where are we going with this? Oh yeah, the CGI parts. I mean, I think the CGI, it's not Jurassic Park. It seems like it's the next step beyond Jurassic Park, right? And like we're gonna show all the dinosaurs the whole way and all the effects and stuff, and they really went for it.
Yeah,
I think it mostly looked good. I think the parts that didn't look good were the parts where just like people were being like, they were like, pretend there's 50 bugs on you, and they all just wave their arms around. Like that stuff, I think,
my God,
didn't translate super well.
When young child was shooting at Adrian Brody,
God.
I'm like, how is he not dead? Like,
Eventually,
this is
you get
not how
used to
this
the
works.
recoil on the gun, kid. I don't know how many times you fired it, but like that third time when you like accidentally shoot it into the sky, it's like, dude.
I gotta say also, like a prime example of how much this movie needed editing. Did we need like a full minute of him shooting bugs off Adrian Brody?
Was it longer for you, Diggins? I mean, we'll never know, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if like parts, because sorry, did we explain this?
The version I saw, yeah.
So as previously has happened on Mostly Nitpicking, I have accidentally watched the longer special edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up what the changes were, and I don't believe so. No, DJ, I believe our versions of that scene were the same.
That's great.
They added a little bit to the end, but that is after they get rescued. That stuff was added for me.
There's lots of that. There's lots of like just like people waddling around with a thing on them, and then it's shot. And they like I didn't like that bit. Was annoying. I really didn't like the bit where they were running away for brontosauruses, and then there was just a full minute of brontosaurus pileup, and I'm like, why are you watching this? What's the point?
The brontosaurus orgy going on.
Yeah, where it was just like legs
just
and heads,
writhing
and
limbs.
And it's like, yeah, I think there were some bits where it was really effective CGI. A lot of them, I would say. There were also some bits like that, or like the bugs, where it felt a little bit overboard. And it just felt like things flying around in CGI space.
The CGI has held up way better than I thought it would. Like, comparing this to the 1998 Godzilla, it's night and day.
Oh my god, yeah. And this one takes place in the day, whereas that one takes place at night.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
So this one should look worse, if anything. I mean, 7 years is a lot of time. Because in 1999, I guess, is when Star Wars came out, right? Phantom Menace. And that is hailed as a lot of people as, like, the big, when Hollywood kind of figured out CGI. Obviously, they didn't perfect it, but, like, it was a big moment.
Yeah, people get teary-eyed thinking of the first time they saw Jar Jar Binks and realized the full possibility of CGI.
That's exactly it. I feel like, if anything, the first CGI thing we would have seen in that movie besides spaceships would have been the Japanese ones. The, like, what are they called? The really racist aliens.
Yes. I know who you're talking about.
What are they called? The Nemidians or something like that?
Nemoidians, I think? Or something
yeah,
like that.
It's around there.
Yeah, it's Nemoidian. But I think, weren't they, like, traditional costume?
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
I remember them having the kind of like
droids.
flappy mouths, like Admiral Akbar.
That's a good point. I mean, you didn't watch I watched the extended edition for that, where they do a lot of backflips before that scene, just to limber up, and that's okay. They're very CGI. It's very rubbery. You're like, come on, guys, put this in the sequel when you're ready. We already said Naomi Watts, Jack Black, obviously doing the Lord's work. Adrian Brody is there. Thomas Kretschmann is Captain Engelhorn, the guy who is Michael Fassbender. He's kind of fun. I did like him, but he is kind of all over the place.
He's just kind of there to be cool and save them when they need to be saved, and then say ominous things in a German accent, and that's kind of it. But he makes a meal out of it.
Yeah, I think when an actor like that is just doing like a schlocky kind of like say the words with a cool accent and be all dark and mysterious, like it usually works in this movie. It's when they try to do something else when it kind of falls apart.
It's when
you
the
also
first
have-
mate reads a passage from Heart of Darkness while looking out onto the horizon that you're like,
So, yeah, skipping to them, we have Evan Park as Hayes, and then Jamie Bell, Fantastic Four's own, as Jimmy, the little stowaway boy. That part is pretty funny. I like them a lot.
Why are they in this movie?
I assumed they were original characters that just had to be in it. Is that not
Right?
what happens?
No. This is what I'm talking about, where these characters feel like they have no point and go nowhere.
Yeah.
So you could tell that they were added to the story. I told you the first mate in the original was Jack.
Right, yeah.
So all the stuff Jack does is what the first mate does. So this new character who is a first mate does not exist in the original. And all the stuff the first mate would have done is done by Jack in this movie.
So
then there was no Jimmy at all.
So then, yeah, I don't know what the deal with these characters are, besides just, like you were saying, to explain Heart of Darkness to the audience, which is very important. That part was adorable.
And to be sad when he died, but then also never show up again, so it doesn't matter in any way.
Like, so that kid's not supposed to be from Skull Island, right?
I kind of thought that's what they were doing at first, but no.
Yeah, I did too, but also the timeline didn't quite match up with where it seemed like he would have been, and
plus then we
also,
see the natives and they're like orcs instead of people.
Yeah. So he's those.
I got some words about that scene.
So those two are in it. Also, you had Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' own Colin Hanks, playing Preston, the little assistant guy.
Yeah, he's Jack's, not Jack. Jack Black's assistant.
Yes,
who is
Carl's
playing
assistant.
Carl Denham. Yeah.
Oh,
and then, like I said, Andy Serkis plays both the monkey and a character who I'm just learning now is named Lumpy. So that's fun.
He's the cook. He's missing an eye like Popeye.
Yeah. And then besides that, you got someone named John Summer who plays Herb, who's the audio guy. He was fun. And then Kyle Chandler, a character named Bruce Baxter, who is the actor of the picture.
Did not exist in the original, obviously, because what's his name? Because he did all words. I'm wordsing. The leading man part was just Jack, and there was no other actor who was supposed to be a leading man in the movie they were making.
Right.
So that's why he's named. That's why the character is named Bruce in this movie, because the actor for Jack in the original was Bruce Cabot.
Yeah, and I think this character is great. I was very excited to have a character like this, and I enjoyed the bits with him in it. I think you maybe could have cut Adrian Brody out of this movie altogether and just had this guy be that guy, you know?
I mean, he's funny, but he doesn't seem to make sense because he's cowardly or courageous depending on what the scene needs.
Yeah, I think he's courageous when in that one moment, and then he realizes how stupid that was. He's like, never be courageous again. It would be foolish to have courage, because maybe he's not courageous. Maybe he just always wanted to swing on a vine, and then got to do that, and then he was like, I'm out. I'm going to run away from everything in the future. But also, when it comes to courage in this movie, I do think there's a certain amount of, courage. He's not courageous necessarily, but he's right. Get away from that King Kong, guys. It's not good. Everybody should run away.
Overall, he's right. If you're just doing pure, cold calculus, was it worth it for 17 men to die to save one person? I don't know.
Yeah, you get a
problem.
King Kong out of it, so that's pretty good.
Which, when did that become part of the plan? I get that Jack Black says, you guys got the chloroform, we can capture it, but, when does he didn't come to Skull Island to capture King Kong. I
think that only becomes his plan when the camera breaks.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he always able to find an angle, and that's the new angle, because he's gonna be screwed if he goes home with nothing.
Now, forgive me because I watched this movie in 2 parts, but doesn't Jack Black first float the idea of capturing Kong to the captain before his camera breaks?
At what point? While they're on the island?
After they discover that King Kong is a thing, he's like, why don't we capture it? They're like, are you mad, man? He's like, what? You got chloroform. That's what you do, right? You capture and sell illegal animals?
Well,
and I thought he floated.
That is after they get rescued from the spider pit which is only after the camera breaks.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I think that is much later, because that's the point, I think, where Englehart or whatever just given up, and Jack Black's able to be like, let's throw things at it, and he's like, I don't know, man.
You're my bitch now.
We're going home, whatever.
Englehart isn't in the movie from like when they go to rescue her until that moment. So, and nobody knows that Kong exists other than when Carl gets a quick glimpse of him through the gate. Up until until they've gone to rescue Anne. So timeline doesn't work out.
Yeah, he. I think Jack Black's thing, and this is part of why I like Jack Black's character, and I think part of why everybody likes Jack Black's character. He is like, he sucks. He's the worst, but he's
a real
so
piece of
good
shit
at being the worst. It's fun to watch him try to figure it out and try to like finagle. It's almost like watching Uncut Gems. It's just like, how's he gonna get out of this jam?
Yeah.
You know, like, and he's got that energy as well, so it's fun.
Yeah. One of the only things I remembered from this movie, like I had a vivid memory of to this day, was the moment when after that guy gets eaten by a dinosaur and he's like going to Preston like, no, he didn't die for nothing. He died for a vision, and we're gonna finish it and give the money to his family, which is like the exact same thing he said before. And like that's the moment Preston realizes, like, wait, this guy's full of shit. Just because it's so good.
To be fair, we don't know that he doesn't donate the proceeds to the family.
That's
right,
true.
but then like, he doesn't even seem aware that he said that exact thing about that other guy, which gives a strong impression of like how much does he actually care.
Yeah, he he wants to donate the proceeds to the family, but then the family is also on the line. If say the Godzilla or the King Kong escapes and starts destroying New York, then the family also needs to pay damages to the city.
He's going to jail, right? Like he got arrested 30 seconds after this movie ended.
Like, I guess, but also like, he didn't seem to care. Like, he wasn't, like, I feel like his character would have been running away in the other direction if he thought that was possible. But I guess his character also knew he was supposed to say that thing from the first one, and that was the rule. So he had to go do that, and then he booked it into Jersey. Jack Black's terrific. He has a line. I think the line that sold me on this movie as I was watching it, because the beginning of the movie, I think we get a lot of, like, Depression era, like, people on lines and all the fancy shows and stuff.
We start with a montage set to like a Depression era standard. It's like, I forget the name of it. But yeah, it's just a montage of Naomi Watts doing vaudeville and stock footage from the Depression. Just so you really know.
And I appreciated it, because it was fine. I think the setting of the movie worked for me in the time period.
Runnin' Wild, that was the name of the song. Wait, no, it wasn't.
What did you guys think of the set design and the scenic design of New York?
It was fine.
Pretty good.
They did it's interesting because like they have the Depression era part, obviously, like gray and bleak and all that shit. But like they made New York very colorful at parts, more toward the end. But like when they're on the docks, it's weird. Like the docks, it's gray, but it's like a bright gray. Like it was like that kind of like stylized filtered. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. It has a Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow Rocketeer kind of vibe.
Gee whiz bang kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on top of the world is the name of the song.
I liked it better than Skull Island. Than Skull Island, like the locale of Skull Island, like for sure.
Yeah.
What do you got against the 70s, DJ?
No, I can't tell if this is like a bit or if you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
DJ is pro-Vietnam War. He didn't like it that we lost that war. Is that right,
Yeah, man.
DJ?
I'm going to actually stop right there.
So, going forward, the bit that I really like that's just sold me on Jack Black in the movie. So he does this little presentation to his dudes, and he's like, I need more money to do more movie because I didn't do enough of it before. And they say, like, what are you going to do, Jack Black? And he's like, I've come into possession of a map. And I was like, holy shit, this is great. Like, yes, please, more of you. And and he never really, like, lost me. There were parts of the movie where I would have loved more of that energy, more of that, like, saying lines that are silly. But I think he should have been the sidekick, because he's the Evie in this Mummy 1, like Brendan Fraser scenario, kind of. You know?
Yeah.
He's your exposition machine. He's the character that knows what's going on. But he's not in a lot of the movie. And also, you have Adrian Brody, who's like playing against that kind of character as like the cool guy who's like, oh, we gotta save her, and this is a crazy island, whatever. But I feel like we needed more of a presence of someone being like, no, this is just a mystical island, but I have this map. I guess he loses the map almost immediately, so.
Yeah, pretty much as soon as they get to the island.
Yeah, it's not that helpful of a map anyway. It just has some drawings on it, but like...
Yeah, it's not actually a map at all. It's just a piece of paper with some drawings on it.
Yeah, it's got a little skull on it at one point, so that's handy, I guess. That's like something you notice, and you're like, wait a second. Yeah. That was a bit that I liked in the movie. What did you think? What was your favorite bit from the beginning of the movie before we get on the boat?
When that film executive says, "Will it have boobies?"
Oh, that was great.
You know what's weird? I actually liked Jack Black's kind of like problem solvingness, because I don't know if this was like intentional, but he doesn't come off like a nightmare when they're in New York. Like, he's sitting down with Naomi Watts, and he's like, I got a perfect role. Are you a size 4? Oh, no, don't misunderstand my intentions, ma'am. And, you know, like, trying to get her to be in the part because the other girl, like, fled. He tricks the writer into staying on the boat by, like, filling out the check super long. Like, just, like, little things like that I was like, this character's kind of endearing.
That's why that character works, I think. It's because it's not just that he's like a dick who kind of, you know, cons people and like does whatever to get what he wants. He's also actually very charismatic, and you can understand why people listen to him.
Yeah.
Well, and he's the character in the movie that's like, let's go do a King Kong. And everybody else is like, I don't want to do a King Kong. And you're like, fucking do a King Kong, Adrian Brody. So when Jack Black figures out a way to keep that going, I'm like, good. All right, we got the whole team. Let's go do a King Kong.
I think Jack Black might say my favorite line in the movie. My actual favorite line in the movie, then. Not
Let's go do a King Kong.
So dumb that it's funny. No.
Well, what is it?
Which is after Adrian Brody or Jack is unable, like, Carl successfully stalls him long enough that he doesn't get off the ship before it leaves, and he's looking at the edge like, I told you should have done film. I told you there's more money in film. And Jack's going, it's not about the money. I love the theater. And Carl just like shakes his head and goes, if you loved it, you would have jumped.
Yeah. That's a great line.
I mean,
that's
really
a great
good
line.
Even in 1920s, he was smart enough to know, or 1930s, he knew not to jump into the Hudson River. Only a fool can jump into the Hudson River.
Yeah, I mean,
and that was in
true.
the 30s, before all the pollution really kicked off. But, I mean, I'm sure it was still awful. But,
If, you know what I think I told Diggins this before we started recording, if this was like, if there was like a 4-hour cut, the Peter Jackson cut, or if there were like 2 movies, there definitely would have been a flashback. Maybe it would have been like the very beginning of the movie, but like Jack Black is like a kid, like early 1900s, like grifting some other kids or something like that. There would have been some kind of flashback to that effect.
They gotta make that, please.
You want release the Jackson cut?
Release the Snyder cut. Let's get Zack Snyder in here to take another crack at this.
Who's Jesus? Is it
King
Kong?
King Kong is Jesus. Yeah. Just as Jesus climbed to the top of the, I don't know, the cross.
The tower.
Yeah. Got shot at by all the Pontius Pilate's ships. I thought, I think the whole beginning with Jack Black is terrific. I think the beginning for Anne, or whatever her name is, fine. It's good. I liked her as just like she doesn't want to be a stripper, and that's good enough for her. Like, she wants to figure out another way to do this. I do think it's funny when her theater closes and the guy's like, Anne, the theater's closing. We're packing up. No more Broadway today. And she's like, no. And I'm like, how is this news? Everyone seems to know this but you. Well, it's kind of shitty to spring this on your staff. Have a meeting before they put up the sign where you're just like, hey guys, by the way, start putting your resumes out there. I think the theater's closing in a couple of weeks, but no, it's a big surprise. Yeah, and then they go on and do a King Kong. They go on the fun tour ride thingy on the big giant boat.
Yep,
it's a great movie.
At some point, they're like, I thought we were going to Singapore.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's...
Oh man, there's so many things about them saying they're going to Singapore and the crew somehow not realizing that that's a lie. That's really funny to me.
What is it?
So they eventually say that the Skull Island is like some distance to the west of Sumatra, right? Mm-hmm. That means to get here, they sailed all the way through the entire East Indies, because Sumatra is one of the westernmost point of that chain of islands, including where Singapore is. So they had to have sailed like hundreds of miles past Singapore before anyone realized, I don't think we're going to Singapore, guys.
That's a good point. Are they bad at this? Maybe they're bad at this.
That's the only explanation.
Bad at this. Yeah.
I think they're just bad at it.
They capture animals, right? They probably don't go to that many new places. They probably just go to the same couple places, get those animals, and then go home. So maybe they're just like, Jack Black's like, I have possession of a map, and I'll tell you where to go. And they're like, all right. That's how we usually get the places, too. So, I mean, they have bits where they're like, where they try to do circumnavigation through the stars and stuff. And it's a big surprise to all of them that there's no stars out, which, like, I feel like that's the kind of thing everyone would notice at once, right? Or something.
Hey, where'd the stars go?
Yeah.
We don't know what light pollution is.
It's weird.
Well, the magic vortex of Skull Island seems to act very quickly.
Yeah.
Catches them off guard.
So before we get to Skull Island real quick, we have some boat stuff. Adrian Brody sleeps with the animals for some reason. Sure.
They don't, because he wasn't supposed to be on the boat. So they don't have a cabin for him, so he gets to stay in one of the animal cages.
Right, but I feel like if I'm Adrian Brody, I'd be like, fucking Jack Black, I'm sleeping in your room. You can sleep on the floor, or you can sleep in the animal cage. But you got me trapped on this stupid boat, so I get your room. Or I get somebody else's room that's not you.
Adrian Brody appears to not have a spine, though, until they get to the
he's
island.
A big old loser.
Yeah.
He stinks. He is also, like we said, he's a playwright. He's a playwright that Darrow knows, and Sohan goes and like tries to flirt with him, kind of, before she knows who he is. I guess.
Yeah, she accidentally mistakes the sound guy for him, so she starts like talking up the sound guy, who's like, "Wow, this pretty lady's a fan of my work. That's unusual, but I'm into it." And then it becomes obvious she thinks he's Darrow, and he's like, "Oh."
And she's saying things like, I'm glad. I was worried you'd be like a weird gangly fellow with a big nose and hair that's like all floppy to one side." And then she turns around and goes like, "Oh, that's what he is." Like, I feel like he's so much like, he's such a, like, his character stinks, because we got no idea what his deal is, besides just like, he probably doesn't want to die via King Kong mechanisms. But then sometimes he does things that do make him potentially die via King Kong mechanisms. But like in the beginning, you're like, is this guy like bad with women? What's his deal? He seems like he could probably, do fine. But
then despite that rough start, they like instantly fall in love and are already making out before the boat even gets to Skull Island. So there's no like arc to their romance. They're just in love.
Well, she sees him with his shirt off. And boy, was that a 2005 shirt off, am I right?
I was going to say, just like I've already forgotten his name from
Matthew Broderick?
Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah, Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe from Robin Hood. We get peak early 2000s version of Cut on Adrian Brody.
And at the same time, they're also kind of filming the movie, kind of.
They're filming the scenes that take place on a boat, on this boat, which, makes sense.
And Kyle Chandler's not as good at it, kind of. He's kind of a jerk about it.
First of cheeky references, that one scene we see them filming is a scene straight from the original King Kong.
Oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That is fun.
I like that. Is the line that they say in the real King Kong?
Yeah, like, the ones where Adrian Brody's like, "That's not what I wrote." Those are the lines from King Kong that they're saying.
Nice. I like that. So Kyle Chandler is the hero in both this movie and in the universe of life that we live, where King Kong the movie is the best version of itself that we saw. He improv.
I guess so. Yeah.
Cool. And he built the Orca. He coached that football team. He's great. Okay. So let's talk about the kid real quick. Before we get to the island, we must, because it's the movie really cares. The movie, like,
really does.
There's like a bit where I feel like we get his intro real quick, where it's like, "Hi, I'm a little kid who steals pens. This is pretty much it for me, right?" And I'm like, "All right, cool. That's about as much as we got for all the rest of these clowns. Let's move on." But then the movie goes, "I know what you're thinking. There's probably more business here. Let's explore." DJ or Diggins, can either you take what this kid's deal is and how we're introduced to it?
He's like your typical, like, he's the young one on the boat.
No, DJ. What we want is the tragic backstory as First Mate Hayes relates to an uncaring Adrian Brody who did not ask for this.
Oh, see, I don't. Oh God, something with this. I don't remember.
Little kid Jimmy steals Adrian Brody's pen, and then First Mate Hayes stops him and is like, "Give him back his pen." And gives it back to Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody's like, "Thanks, it's fine, not a big deal." And First Mate Hayes is like, "You're probably wondering what's the matter with Jimmy." And Adrian Brody's like, "No, I wasn't. I'm good. You can go." "Well, you see, 4 years ago, I found him stowing away in this very room."
Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure I just kind of figured at some point this kid would give me a pen. I didn't know he
had a broken leg, and
no, okay, all right.
To this day, he won't tell me where he came from, but it must have been somewhere bad.
Was it Skull Island?
Probably
you
think
not,
that,
right?
But no, apparently not.
Yeah.
It never really comes up again.
That's such a weird bit, and it's so much more backstory than we get from. Like, we get more from that than for the captain, for the first mate guy, who's more interesting, for the actor. Really, that's more backstory than we get for Adrian Brody. It's really only Jack Black and Anne that we actually kind of learn what their deal is. Everybody else is like a caricature of, kind of what you see is what you get, except for this kid for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. What this movie, it kind of feels like they wanted to do something with the kid and just never got around to it.
Yeah, I mean...
So he's just there the whole movie, always having little interjections and pretending like there's something going, like there's some kind of arc for him, but there's not.
Like, I could be convinced if someone was like, yeah, well, what it actually is in the original draft for the script, this kid was the main character, and then that's what the movie was, and this is just their way of working him into it as, like, a cameo. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's the kind of thing I would expect from a movie that's remaking an older movie that I haven't seen and know next to nothing about. But yeah, that doesn't seem like that's what it is. I think they were just like, well, Adrian Brody isn't quite the hunk we were looking for. We need a younger, like, guy that we can kind of focus on for all the Twilight fans. And we got Jamie Bell, Fantastic Zone. It's clobbering time. Let's get him and, like, really spotlight him with some bullshit. And yeah, it's one of the most important scenes that takes place on the boat for some reason. But speaking of that, what happens also in that room?
What does also happen in
animal hold. Maybe the greatest part of the movie.
Yes.
Let's talk about this. Because speaking of on the boat stuff, basically we're about to get to the island, and then the King Konging is going to start. But we have a little bit of preamble, and like we were saying before, this Diggins, can you explain this one too? So this one's terrific.
So the reason why Carl has trapped Jack on the boat by pretending to write a check for him very slowly, is because Jack has not finished writing the movie and he needs him to do that. So they're hanging out in this hold while Jack is kind of just in his cage. That's his room. Writing up the movie on his typewriter. And so Carl explains where the movie is actually taking place. It's an island. It's an uncharted island. And Jack's like, what? No, you said it was Singapore. He's like, don't tell the crew, but really, we're in this other place. Is it bad? Not officially, because no one's ever been there. Well, what's its name? It's gonna sound bad. And then, like, whispers it or something, and then the movie cuts to slow-mo as the kid is in the background overhearing this. And we just in slow-mo, the camera like shaking, zooming in and out, like
God.
really emphasizing, oh man, this is a crazy moment. And Adrian Brody goes like, all right, I guess the setting is extreme close-ups on his individual fingers, hitting each individual key.
Oh, yeah.
S, K, U, L, L, Island.
It's like for people that, because I imagine this clip's probably pretty hard to find, although maybe it's in the trailer without just like watching the whole movie, which is also kind of tricky to find. Like it's not on Netflix or one of the main streaming platforms. It's like the whole movie looks normal except for this bit, another bit, and maybe a third bit, but it might just be the two where the movie does slow-mo shaky cam, and it looks like the kind of shit that you would cut to in like a Kid Rock video or something. Like that, like really bad, kind of out of focus. We just need stuff to fill the time. But it is like really dramatic. Skull Island, which like who gives a shit? None of us know what it is. It doesn't sound that scary. It sounds scary to a 10-year-old, I guess, but like to an adult, you'd be like, that's a stupid name for an island. But in the world of the movie, it blows everybody's minds. I don't understand why Jack can just be like, or like Jack Black can just be like, yeah, no, it's next to Singapore. It's another island. It's called Skull Island. It's like normal. It's just like you haven't heard of it because you're not a map guy, but I'm a map guy. And I know about it. And everybody, like, he treats it like he's trying to kill everybody. And they all react to him like he's trying to kill them. But in reality, I feel like he could just fake it most of the way. And he'd probably be fine. Like, I mean, they'd still all die. But he could be like, they wouldn't have to seem as guilty. But, I don't know. Maybe it's Skull Islanding. Maybe it's tricky. Maybe
they all had to pay this horrible price so he could film his stupid movie.
It's pretty awesome. That scene is amazing. And this was the other part where I was really like locked in.
The crew never really seems that upset that they're going to Skull Island, though.
Right?
No,
like it's almost like
they do a thing point where they corner Jack and Carl and are telling a story like, oh, there was this one sailor we found, castaway, and he said he was in a real bad place where bad things happened to him, and then he died. But, like, that's kind of the only complaint they ever lodge.
Well, and, like, what's his name? Englehart is like, you've lied to me. I didn't want to go somewhere but lots of rocks, and there are rocks here. This is a bad thing. But everybody else is just like, Englehart seems mad, so I'm not psyched about this either. But, I mean, like, I'll go to Skull Island, whatever. I'm here, right? Like, everybody else on the crew is pretty... And I think you could maybe... I don't think this would help that much, but have the kid be from fucking Skull Island and make that part of it maybe. And he's like, oh no, now all the crew does want to go, who knows why. And then it's like, well, but actually half of them just want to send this kid back to his ancestral home.
If relatable little white boy is from Skull Island, then how could we possibly be as racist as humanly possible about the Skull Island natives?
That is a tricky
yarp.
Well, how about this? What if
literally it's a worse depiction than the original movie made in the 30s. It's kind of incredible.
What if he is the Tarzan of these people? So his original family of relatable whites crashed onto the island, and he was raised there for like a couple of years, and then he got caught by these guys now, the new heroes of the movie. And his real family, like his, Tarzan's dad is dead, so now he has to go back to live with the Skull Island people. I think that's probably what we're going to do. Rosie O'Donnell can be in it, as can... I don't know who else was in that fucking movie. Phil Collins? I don't know. I remember liking Tarzan at the time. But, yeah, no, the kid is... It's weird. It's weird, too, speaking of a movie where... half of the visible people in the movie are really bizarre racist caricatures. There is one black dude, and and he's just like a guy. Like, there's nothing super offensive about him. And then that random Asian caricature who is the, like, I don't know, guy, quartermaster of, like, he owns, like,
he's the cook's
takes
assistant.
care of the animals. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, I guess that's right. So he's not even that important.
So in the original movie, the cook is a Chinese man, and as you may expect, that depiction is not amazing.
I mean, I'm sure they would have gone for it if Andy Serkis didn't volunteer at the last minute or something. This does not seem like the level that they wouldn't have stooped to. But
I mean, they kept the character in; they just made him not the cook.
It's true. It's very strange. I think, but it is a very white movie, which like it shouldn't be shocking because it's a movie about actors and actresses in the 20s and 30s. Like you'd expect whoever's supposed to be the lead actor, lead actress, and director, producer maybe would be white, but you would also expect maybe there would be a little bit more diversity, but there's not. There's really just like the two, and then all of the Skull Island natives. It's a weird. I don't know. Was there?
I mean,
like at the time were people like, what's going on with this?
No, definitely not. I don't think that was a major concern of the day. I mean, it is definitely a systemic problem that so little casting goes to non-white people in Hollywood. I am not one to necessarily criticize an individual movie over it because it's not an individual movie problem. It's a problem that nobody does it, you know? And so I don't think the racial dynamics would be this movie would be particularly notable, especially for its time, if not for the super racist native characters.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think you could get away with it if it was just like, yeah, these are the actors we cast. I don't know, it's a movie about actors, whatever. They go to an island, there's a lot of animals there. There's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, whatever. These are the people we got. But yeah, it seems like the kind of thing where it's like, wait, if you think that is what all the natives look like, maybe that's why everybody on the boat is white. Like it's that kind of like domino falling thing. And it's not it's like the argument you sometimes hear against this kind of stuff is like, well, that was just the best actor they could get, so like why do you have to care if he's white or black or whatever? But like these guys weren't the best actors you could get. Most of them were fine. It could have been anybody off the street. Like, none of the actors on the boat, besides Englehart, who I do think was great, and obviously the main characters, but like, little Stowage kid and all the rest of the people, Andy Serkis's guy, that could have been anybody.
I mean, yeah, all the crew members are really just there to fill scenes and die. They could be anybody.
Also, one other thing that I do remember noticing when this movie happened, there are a couple of people die in big death ways, like in like tragedy deaths, like this, like we'll see the sound person will die a horrific death, and like other people will die kind of horrific deaths. There is one death that stood out to me as like a little strange, and it is the first mate who sacrifices himself. Do you remember that?
Sacrifices himself for no reason and to no effect.
Yeah, just kind of almost like it, like that horror movie trope of like, well, the black guy goes first, then you know you get rid of that, and then there's all these people, and it's like it felt so like hitting a like checklist of cliches, but not for a good reason. It was just really weird. Jack Black was really good in this movie, though. He was so good. I forgot about most of this bullshit.
Really good.
Yeah, I think he was really good.
Yeah.
I think he was great. Like, he doesn't make the movie really good, but him in a movie full of well-cast, well-paced, like, acting and stuff, it's a fucking blast.
Yeah,
we watch this every year.
This Jack Black in the 2-hour version of this movie,
yeah,
absolutely stellar.
Like, if you did Kong Skull Island with more or less the same cast, except, like, obviously the conceit has to be different. They're filming a movie in the 70s or whatever. And he is a 70s version of himself, which would also be fun, like a Francis Ford Coppola type. And he is in charge of the crew. Still great. That makes that movie instantly better because we have one single memorable character. Like, out of all of these movies that have had in my lifetime that have had King Kong or Godzilla that are from America, he is the only character I can remember from any of them.
The only character who is not a big monster.
Yeah, for sure. And he's even got more presence than some of the big monsters. Like, most of the secondary monsters in the newest one, the one from 2 years ago, Jack Black's probably better than them. I'd rather see Jack Black just talking to someone in a room than watching Rodan fly around.
Listen, I can't get behind you shit-talking Rodan or Mothra or King Ghidorah. I just can't.
Oh, in principle, I think those characters are all cool. I think the movie had no idea what to do with any of them. Although, to be fair, I use Rodan as the example. I think his birthing scene when he comes out of the volcano is pretty good. I'd say it's the highlight of that stupid movie.
I will stand behind the trailer and the creature design of King of the Monsters. I think the designs for Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra in that movie are incredible.
I think Mothra looks terrific. I think I agree. I think all of that is true, and I wish there were more.
That's all I will stand for, but that's important to me.
None of them are at that Jack Black level where they're just absolutely crushing it. But yeah, he's just like, you know what it is about Jack Black too? We see a lot of Jack Black in roles now where he is Jack Blacking around, where he's doing what is pretty much Kung Fu Panda, and it's School of Rock, and it's Tenacious D, and this isn't that, and it's still great, which I think is why I like it so much, is I'm like...
There's this weird thing where we kind of collectively forget that Jack Black's a great actor, and then every once in a while he does something to remind us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Tropic Thunder is obviously similar enough to this in terms of it's a movie about movies and it takes place in the jungle and all that stuff. And he is also hilarious in that. And I would say not quite doing like the most standard level of Jack Blacking. Not to say that I don't enjoy a nice Kung Fu Panda or School of Rock. I think those are both
Kung Fu
really
Panda,
fun.
one of the best movies ever made.
Absolutely. And he's great in it. And like he seems great. I'm always happy to see him and stuff. But I think
what other
not
not great movie Jack Black like really adds a ton to?
Oh God! What year is it? How long ago did it come out?
2015.
I was gonna say Nacho Libre.
I don't. Oh man,
Jack
this
Black,
is gonna kill me.
Yeah, same.
Jack Black 2015
Can you,
live action.
Genre
I'm assuming
of movie, like Somewhere to Get Me.
It's a live action movie.
Oh, Jumanji?
No,
he rules in that movie. He's great.
I'm
in
sure that's
those two
true.
Jumanji
Not
movies
what
where
I'm
he pretends to
talking
be a little girl.
Okay.
But
So live action movie.
The Holiday.
The what?
The Holiday? The one where the rom-com with him and...
I know what you're talking about, but no.
He
That's
also
much
rules
older.
in that. Yeah, I know. The date didn't feel right, but I was still like, in my head, I was like, oh yeah, he's great in that too. What is it? I don't know. Oh, is it Ghostbuster? Or, it's Goosebumps.
It is Goosebumps.
Yes, he is great in that as well. Yeah.
He is an incredible R.L. Stein.
I've never seen that movie.
Yeah, he really is
okay.
so good. What's he up to now? I want to see it.
He has his YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, he's getting it on my turf. I don't like it actually. Fuck this guy. They're doing he's Claptrap in the Borderlands movie.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know, right? You know what? He's also, remember when they oh my God, speaking of things that we give a shit about, remember when Quibi did The Princess Bride? He was Wesley in the scene where he climbs the rock. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
So
and then
good.
there's something called Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Adventure, which is a coming-of-age story set in the suburbs of Houston, centered around the historic Apollo 11 moon landing, with Zachary Levi, Jack Black, and some other people. But those are the big two. So maybe that'll be fun. But yeah, he is in Borderlands, along with, wow, what an insane cast. You guys want to take a guess? You probably already know one or two of these names.
I heard Claptrap, and it's escaping me, but I remember at the time being like, that's stupid. Oh, God. Diggins, did you hear this news?
Do you know anybody that's in this movie? It's directed by Eli Roth.
Really?
Hostel 2 Zone. And Hostel 1, I assume.
Hulk Zone.
Yes.
I don't know.
All right, here we go. We got Kevin Hart as a character named Roland. I can't remember who that is.
He's the just keep going.
I don't know anything about
the small one who yells about how the guns are taller than he is or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis plays a character named Tanis. Also don't know who that is. But then the big one, there's a character named Lilith. Kate Blanchett.
She's really?
Yeah, she's in the Borderlands movie.
It's interesting. She's a very high charisma character. She's like Roland's right-hand lady. She's all like firepower focused.
Perfect.
Blanchett.
Just like Kate Blanchett. I think she's got a lot of charisma.
Is she very tall?
She's gonna be.
Not particularly.
Oh my God, the banter between her and fucking Kevin Hart. Why have we not done this yet?
Kate Blanchett is
so
like
great.
at least two Kevin Harts.
Yeah. Oh my God. She is the reason that The Rock has never found love in a movie is because he's just waiting for Kate Blanchett. The only woman as tall as he is. Back to this stupid Kid Kong movie. What else happens? They go on the boat. They go on Skull Island. They crash a bunch.
On Skull Island.
I don't know. They
get a telegram that's like Jack Black's under arrest, and Captain Englehorn's like, why didn't you tell me you're under arrest? And Jack Black's like, I think that's pretty obvious. But then they crash on Skull Island anyway.
Also, like, I don't think... I just assume the whole deal with Englehart is that he's also probably got arrest warrants out for him. He's not a savory character. He's quite an unsavory character.
That's true. He's illegally selling animals and whatnot.
Yeah, like,
also,
so
what did he think was happening when Jack Black doubled his pay to leave immediately, and then a bunch of police cars pulled up as they were, pulling away from the dock? What did he think that was about?
Right? It's so dumb.
He's not very observant.
I guess,
I wasn't paying attention.
I mean, he was just thrown off because Jack Black is such a good actor in that scene. He was like, this guy is so captivating.
But anyway, then they go
Anyway, they go to Skull Island.
The film crew sneaks away from the boat because the film crew, the ship crew still doesn't want to go on Skull Island. They're like, we want to fix the boat and get out of here. But then the film crew sneaks away and they find the village of natives who are around a big wall that separates the island from the ocean. And they just kind of live in weird houses around it. And they're like orcs. They're filmed as not being people, basically. They're weird monsters that capture everybody and start killing them.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, how does that relate to the original one?
So in the original, the natives are not happy that they're there, and they're like, you should leave. But they don't instantly attack them. They like, talk to them, and also offer to buy and Darrow to sacrifice to Kong, which is, also weird and not great. But
well, they try for a bartering system.
Yeah, but at least they're like people. They're people who talk to them and are just like, hey, this is our island. You should get out of here.
Right.
And not weird monsters.
Yeah, it's really weird. And they really are like, there's the bit, okay, so they find the first kid, the like little boy or girl or whatever, that's all like kind of like the Ring kid. It looks like some sort of it's the kid standing all quietly and like puts a hand out, and Jack Black tries to give it chocolate because his movie's still kind of funny because of Jack Black.
You want chocolate? Here's some chocolate. You like chocolate, don't you? You fucking savage. Here's some chocolate. It's so stupid.
I mean, it is stupid. It's kind of funny in that moment because it's him being stupid in that moment. Like, there's a little bit of me that enjoys it as like a he's gonna get his hand bit off or something. That's gonna be fun.
We're supposed to think he's doing something dumb.
Yeah, but then everything goes nuts, and also then they find more people, and then Jack Black's like, "Don't worry, there's no men here," and then all the men show up, and then they just, to quote the Frank Reynolds meme, and then they started blasting, and they just shoot them like a lot. There's a lot of shooting things in this movie.
Well, the natives are like,
that's true.
Literally murdered. Like, one of them stabs a spear through the sound guy's chest, and then they capture another guy who never gets introduced or mentioned again, but he must be part of the film crew because the ship crew didn't go with them. But then later when they're talking about the film crew that died, they don't say this guy's name or acknowledge that he existed at all. So it's kind of weird.
Wait, was he not the one that they're going to make the donation to his family for? Or is
that's the guy who got stabbed through the chest with a spear. But there's another guy who the natives put his force him down onto a stone and bash his head in.
I forgot about him.
And no one ever mentions that
weird.
Guy.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. That part's weird.
Anyway, then Englehart shows up with his guns, and they shoot the natives until they go away.
Yeah, and then that's kind of the end. They go
then
home,
they fix the
get
boat
back
and
on
leave.
their boat. Yeah.
It's the end of the movie.
Except for the classic cool thing of pole vaulting is used to get back to the ship, and then they just steal whatever her name is, and because she is something...
She is the beautiful white woman who must be sacrificed to King Kong.
I guess she is the single woman in the movie.
As we all know. Well, they're about to sacrifice a native woman, it looks like. And they see Anne, and they're like, a white woman? Everyone knows that's better than another kind of woman. She must be our sacrifice.
Well, to be fair, maybe it's just like one of their guys. Like, sweet, they brought sacrifices too. We don't have to kill... the island mom we all like. Just get rid of her.
Fair,
so,
but
that bit I think
says like, oh no, these terrible non-whites are stealing our precious white women. We've got to do something about this, guys.
Well, it's like, what do they do if they don't normally get people who run ashore, and it's like, oh, no sacrifices this month? Because how many boats are just, like, running into Skull Island? These guys sought it out with this strange map.
Well, they do
like
a Hunger Games, and they pick someone from the group.
Yeah. Like I said, they were about to sacrifice another native. They just changed their plan when she shows up.
Yeah, exactly. They abandoned ship so quickly. Like, is there preferred to sacrifice, one of these beautiful white people?
Well, yeah, because white women are better. Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that.
I mean, listen, guys, this is going to be so much fun out of context. I want ringtones. I want everything. I would say, okay, so they do steal, what's her name? The island, the Kong people come back, and the Skull Islanders, I wanted to call it Kong Island. It should be called Kong Island. Because Skull Island probably was scary in the 30s. It sounds stupid today.
Well, the island in the 30s is also literally shaped like a skull.
Right, and it is in the other movie too, in the Kong Skull Island, I think. But this one, it's not. There's just skulls all around.
Bunch of coffee stains.
Yeah, but also like
hideout is also kind of skull shaped.
Yeah, and they bump into skulls on their way in. Like there's lots of big giant skull rocks.
And we get more slow-mo shaky cam looking at all the skulls in the village.
It's pretty awesome. So there's a lot of bullshit in the middle. And it's a lot of running away from stuff. Anybody have any highlights here?
Well, Diggins, didn't you say you had a special part that we didn't have? Your fun special edition?
Oh, right. Yeah, the only major scene that I have that you guys didn't have is after the Brontosaurus and Utahraptor scene, where they're running from a big stampede of Brontosauruses, and also Utahraptors are there for some reason.
Because otherwise, shooting the Brontosauruses would be way too obvious of an answer.
Right.
Every time someone figures that out, the raptors come and get them.
A bunch of people get stomped on. They trip one of the Brontosauruses, and they end up in a big Brontosaurus orgy.
Yeah.
Baxter and a few of the crew decide that this isn't worth it and go and leave.
And they should all leave at this point, by the way.
Yeah, probably.
This is when everyone packs up and goes. I'm just saying from a logical standpoint.
Like I said, if you're doing the cold moral calculus, is it worth it for 17 men to die to save the one person?
I mean, she's the lady, though. How many men are worth one lady?
Especially if she's white.
Yeah, I mean, she's also, does fun dances with them. The crew has loved her. We didn't see this happen. We saw it once kind of by accident. But she's the favorite guy. Everyone loves her.
But after that scene, after Baxter leaves, they put together a little raft and start floating across a swamp. And then a big fish, kind of like a big lungfish with piranha teeth, is in the water. And it breaks up their rafts and eats a few of them, but they get out of the water and then they're okay. Nobody important dies in this scene, which is why they cut it.
This Jack Black really quick. He'd be like, his family, all the families. They all
none of the film
get
crew die,
donations.
But there is a bit in this that you guys didn't see where he is filming as when they're on the shore, he's filming some of the other guys coming up from the shore, and one of those guys gets eaten, and he just keeps filming, and the cook Lumpy goes, "Get a good angle on that, did you?" He's decided he's done with Jack Black's shit.
Damn.
But then that doesn't end up mattering in the movie, so I can see why they cut this scene. It's really not important.
That makes sense. The special effects in this are okay. There's a lot of just kind of stuff happening, and it's fine. I don't think Peter Jackson's strengths were ever special effects, like CGI stuff. So doing the best with what he can.
A lot of these scenes as pulp adventure serial kind of stuff are kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to them on principle. It's just there's so many of them and they're so long.
The bit with the bugs I think worked very well. It's an adventure-y thing where it's like, oh, there's this thing and it's bad. And then this thing after that is even worse.
But it worked really badly as a thing I wanted to look at because I hate bugs.
And it just went me too long. A shorter version of that scene I think would be fun. And I know what they were going for because it builds up to Kyle Chandler swinging in and saving us, like the poster he has. But there's a lot of just people getting eaten by bugs slowly. There were some bits where the guy got eaten by all the sucking ones.
The worm things?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
The bit was fun. No, it was cool.
And I get that probably at the time it was really cool, like from a CGI perspective, like, oh my god, but it was just like too much for this. I mean, like, I didn't need all of that. Like, talking about the time again, it's not bad that the movie was long. It just used the time poorly. Show me more fucking Jack Black. It's really what this shitty movie needed.
Just have less movie. Just have less movie.
Yeah, or like it's just kind of tonally all over the place where there's like the bits with the like the big giant bugs where it's kind of like this is like a straight up monster movie almost.
Yeah.
Like and then there's other bits where it's like Jurassic Park with big giant dinosaurs and like that's not a monster movie necessarily. The dinosaurs are supposed to scare you but not like gross you out, and people are getting smushed off camera as opposed to, like, you know, eaten whole in front of you. So, like, I do think there's a little bit of... The movie's at odds with itself at a couple of bits, and this is one of them for me. I don't think... I do think it more or less works, and I do love that when they save them is very fun. While all of this is going on, Ann Darrow and King Kong are having bonding moments, fine.
Yeah,
What'd you think of the
she
King
does
Kong?
vaudeville routines.
Yeah, that was cute.
That made me laugh. It was like, this is kind of dumb, but you know what? It works.
And she's got, like, a personality that's, like, not just, like, scared all the time. She's like, let's see what I can get out of it. Like, maybe I could do some juggling. Maybe that'll make the monkey laugh. And it does.
I did like that Kong decides it's really funny when she falls over, so he starts, like, pushing her.
Yeah,
just to
that
watch
was
her
funny.
fall.
Yeah.
And I liked when she was trying other things that didn't work, and Kong was like, yeah, no, not that. I don't remember what it was, but...
Again.
There was something before that, yeah, where she was just like, all right, what else do we got? Dancing maybe or something. And he was like, I don't know, man. This isn't for me.
Not about this.
Yeah. It's like, everybody's got their thing. I think the cog design is great. I think her chemistry with big, giant, like, green roller coaster car is great. And I think
she's got better chemistry with Kong than she does with Adrian Brody.
Exactly. It's why at the end of the movie they're not really a couple, and I'm fine with it. They're just kind of two people that seem to care if the other one dies or not. But there's no kiss
in
at
the
the
sense
end.
that I don't really want anybody to die.
Yeah,
I don't want a generalized person to die. Like, you just say, hey, you want a random person to die? I'm like, no, of course not.
But what if you get $1 million? Would you press the
I was
button?
going to say...
Yeah. You don't know the person. That's important.
Yeah.
What if it's a rich person in a theater who went to a King Kong premiere for real-life King Kong? That person kind of probably deserves it, right? Smack them with the big row of chairs if you can.
But if there's some awful movie exec who's like, you want some booby? Are we going to get some boobies?
That guy. Get rid of him. We don't need him.
Like, fuck that guy, right?
I would say, okay, so that there is a bit where King Kong fights 2 T-Rexes. Or 3 T-Rexes.
How many? Yeah.
Yes, 3 Rexes.
Which really embodies the ethos of this movie, in my opinion. Where in the original movie, King Kong fights 1 T-Rex. And so in this movie, they're like, how can we do that but more? He'll fight 3 T-Rexes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's fine. I think the T-Rexes feel weird in this. Like,
I agree.
I feel like they should be something else.
Well, they and many of the other creatures on this island, in a thing that, it basically works, but I think is really funny when this and other movies do it, is they're not just animals that see some meat that they think they could kill easily and want to eat it. They are hardcore murderers. They see somebody and they want them dead. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have anything to do with food. These people just need to die.
Yeah, I think, speaking of Michael Caine, this is much like the later Jaws movies, where the Jaws gets revenge and, like, follows the family when they leave, because it hates them so much. I think there's the bits with the T-Rex or the T-Rexes. It's pretty funny, too, how the T-Rexes are, like, I imagine if you're a T-Rex, a human person is probably kind of tasty, maybe. They've never eaten one, besides, like, maybe some of the sacrificed people. But, like, they probably eat mostly bugs, so I feel like they probably see her and go, like, yeah, you know what, let's give it a try. But there's so many bits where they're just, like, an inch from her, and they're just chomping like hungry hippos, like, get in my mouth, that will end the fight, that's all I want. And it's just like, you guys don't really want to eat her, do you? You just think that would be fun to do, and once that happens, then King Kong will go away.
Well, they definitely don't want to eat her, because the first one is already chowing down on this giant lizard that should be more than enough for him. And then he sees this tiny little mammal and is like, oh, Forget this thing I'm eating already. I want that.
Yeah.
That needs to die.
Yeah, and then okay, so that fight in general I thought was pretty fun. I think this fight, speaking of King Kong monster stuff and like Godzilla and all that, I think this fight had the most creative choreography when it came to just like King Kong punches a guy and then it tosses her into his foot and then it uses the other foot to grab onto a thing. Like, that was fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think this fight also was a little longer than it needed to be. I think you could have very well done 2 T-Rexes instead of 3. But I do think there was a little bit of fun, creative stuff there.
In this movie. Every single scene in this movie is longer than it needs to be.
But yeah, I think this fight overall worked for me. I do think there was a lot of like, it felt very like, oh, this thing's gonna bite her, and then pulls her right, like at the last second, and she's like, oh my god. And that happened for a lot, and then they just went to the swing set, and then all swung around for a little bit. And that was a little
how
much
many
for
times
me.
They went
on the
to
fucking
the world's strongest vines.
Oh, dude!
Like the T-Rex, they did chomp 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 on the vines, like landed in like a hammock of vines that it was just able to swing and chomp and swing and chomp. Like, it was made for this T-Rex, but I mean, it was pretty cute.
And like the same set of vines holds both a T-Rex and Kong at one point.
Yeah.
Well, like, and that falls under the part of it's like, okay, are these things that are just totally implausible taking you out of the movie, or is it like, don't worry about it?
Oh, I mean, the whole movie is silly, so I don't think it's an actual problem with the movie, but the podcast is called Mostly Nitpicking.
No, but like I actually think like from like a weird, it's like one of those weird things where when the movie does this movie do that too much, like its detriment. The biggest thing for me, I know we covered it, but like if you want to talk about things that I think are unforgivable no matter how pulpy it is, Adrian Brody should have been full of bullet holes.
Oh my God.
When young Jimmy was just shooting the bugs off him. He should have been. That needs to end with him just like falling over and bleeding. It's like, you idiot, and just full of bullet holes.
Well, you get to do that once.
When they go in the pit of Dark Souls enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You remember, have you guys seen, I know DJ hasn't watched this because he's, he just hasn't seen it. It's very upsetting to me. He hasn't watched True Lies, but Diggins, you have, right? You've seen True Lies?
No, I've never seen True Lies.
Oh my God. All right, well, there's a bit where, because True Lies is a very, like, knows exactly what it's doing, kind of action comedy, and really, I would say, expertly switches between those two kind of spots. And there's one bit where Jamie Lee Curtis, near the end of the movie, where she has found out that Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a normal guy who sells software, but in fact an Arnold Schwarzenegger type who shoots everybody with machine guns. She is helping with the shooting, and she drops a machine gun down the stairs, and it just falls and tumbles and goes off, fires on every step, and shoots all of the bad guys and not Arnold. And then there's this look he gives her that's like, what were you thinking? And she's like, I don't know. And then they just kind of go. Like, I think you can do that once where there's a big bug on Adrian Brody's face, and then he's like, help me. And then the kid shoots it, and the bug is gone. And Adrian Brody's like, what? And the kid's like, I don't know. And then you move on. You can't have him shoot 5 or 6 bugs off of Adrian Brody one at a time. Like, it's just so stupid. Also, Adrian Brody, just like stop, drop, and roll or something. I don't know if that's like the best case scenario here, but this fight he's having with the bugs, we're just holding an inch from his face. Like, I don't know, man. There's got to be better ways to deal with this.
I'm going to time this. I have the movie up right now. I'm going to time how long we just get. And then it's not like they cut to other stuff while this is happening. It's just straight the kid shooting big crickets off of Adrian Brody.
All right, Nando, guess in seconds how long it is if Dickens is going to time it. I'm going to guess 55 seconds. I'm going to guess 55 seconds.
I think I'll take the over. My guess was going to be 80 seconds.
Where do you guys want me to start? Do you want me to start when he gets the gun or when he starts shooting?
I think it's from bullet fire 1, right? Or are we taking a difference? Yeah,
I don't know.
First bullet fired. It probably feels like 80 seconds.
Well, and it's probably cutting between that and somebody else that's also shooting a different
that's the
guy.
thing. I think it's this straight, which is what truly blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think there's other action.
There's like a second of other action because I'm watching it right now.
Oh, right, because Andy Serkis is the one that gets eaten up by the big slimy things.
Yeah, but that
And
happens before this.
Yeah, his arm gets cut off by Ultron as well.
It's I just think with this scene, it is an example of, I get that you want to show off the cool CGI-ness and look at all the creatures in Skull Island, but I'm with Diggins, like, I hate bugs. So I'm just watching this whole time. Yeah, so I'm with both of you, right? I'm watching this just like cringing the whole damn time. But maybe like some people are watching this and they're like, this is so cool. Like, I don't know. And if, like, sensibilities are different now between 2005, I don't know.
I think it would be different for me if it was a different bug. If it wasn't a real bug, if it was a fantasy bug.
What were your guys'
guesses? I said 55. Nando said flat 80.
I said 80, but I said the over in general. I think it's more than a minute.
Okay. It is 43 full seconds of this kid shooting bugs off of Adrian Brody.
It just feels like double the time, because of course it does.
Because you don't need 43 seconds of that. You need like 5 tops.
But I think this is why most of Skull Island doesn't work for me in general, right? At least the parts without Kong, because those parts don't feel like they're consequential in terms of like, oh no, the crew's in danger. But I don't know, whatever. I haven't grown to love any of these fuckers.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is the main. I think if Adrian Brody and what's-her-name had the kind of chemistry that you would hope for in something like this, a Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz chemistry, then we'd automatically care about him, and that would probably be enough to get us through the scene. And Jack Black in that scene is wigging out and deciding to, like, you know, kill all the monsters, but also this is where he kind of figures out that he has to get King Kong.
Right, because this is when the camera
really
breaks.
present.
The camera... Kong tosses them off a log and they fall into the Dark Souls pit.
Yeah.
And the camera breaks in that fall, so he sees it and he goes nuts and starts beating the shit out of bugs with I'm not sure what he's using.
It's a tripod.
The tripod?
Right, it's the tripod.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is when he's like, if I did a King Kong though, we could still make our money back.
Mm-hmm.
And pay
I
for
won't go
the
to
wife
jail.
and kids of the dead people. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, they all get some of the back end, so they're probably not going to see that much money. You know, you can figure it out in a way that makes sense for the studio and sense for the victims' families. King Kong. Adrian Brody has to go do his own King Kong now because he's like, I gotta save her from King Kong, and they're like, good luck, buddy. Wink. And then Jack Black hatches a plan with Michael Fassbender, and he says, you have all that chloroform. What if we toss it at King Kong? Can we get the King Kong? And that guy's like, you want me to steal an animal? And Jack Black's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, right. Okay, cool. I'll do that.
I forgot that's my whole thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. That's what the cages are for. Right. How do I keep forgetting this? And the King Kong, I do like that King Kong likes and hates Adrian Brody. Just like does not... They don't have respect, or like the oh, you're not a bad guy, but you're also not my friend. King Kong just fucking can't stand this Adrian Brody character. I respect that.
He can feel he's threatened in his position as Anne's lover.
Well, it's foolish of you, King Kong. This is the thing. If King Kong had like been with more women, and he had kind of he'd know that the Adrian Brody thing isn't going to work out with her either. So played along.
Yeah, he'd feel more confident in himself. More confident.
Kong.
Hey,
that's right.
My man.
Oh, I forgot to mention, after the T-Rex scene, Kong is also all tsundere with Anne.
What? Oh, wait, this is something
cute.
from anime, right? What is this?
Yes, a tsundere is I don't know exactly what it means, but it's like basically in Japanese means like angry sweet. It means someone who acts like mean and pretends like they don't like you, but secretly they do. The
kind of like Helga and Arnold,
like Thanatos.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Actually, I remember this.
The meme line that you give to a tsundere is like, it's not like I like you or anything, babaka. So he's just done this whole big dumb T-Rex fight to save her, and then when she comes up to him, he like turns his back like, whatever. It's not like I care about you.
Yeah,
it's funny. I liked it.
Yeah, no, I think I really like. There's so many parts of this movie that don't work, and I would get to a part with King Kong and her, and I'd be like, I should want to fast forward through this, and I should be like, oh, we got another one of these, but I won't. Like, I think the pacing on the Kong and her bits on the island worked really well. They were probably the best paced bits of the movie. I never got bored, and I always felt like I got just about enough. And then when we get into New York, it's bullshit, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's fair.
And then they catch a King Kong. Woo, they throw all the jars at it.
Pretty insane way. Like, they try one bottle of chloroform, no good. They get second bottle of chloroform. Jack Black gets right in his face.
He's got nothing to lose, man. Fucking King Kong or nothing.
Well, yeah, if he misses, it's like, well, that's over. Also, crazy that, like, one bottle of chloroform is enough. Like, I don't know what King Kong's resistance is, but...
King Kong's not that big. He's
big.
25
feet tall.
Yeah, but, like, it's not like... I feel like the King Kongs we've met in previous movies have been humongous and able to knock a helicopter out of the sky. This King Kong is relatively small compared to all of the other monster movies.
He's even smaller than 98 Godzilla.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, by a mile. Like, picking up what's-her-name in his hand, she is, like... I guess if King Kong were to stand up and when he does is like pounding the chest, he gets a little tall. But he's mostly on, walking like a gorilla. And he's got like a big, like he's strong. And like you can see he gets hit by a car and you're like, ow. But he can survive that. But for the most part, he is, I'd say a couple bottles of chloroform. Yeah, could probably at least maybe not completely knock him out, but definitely do some damage. He's just a little Godzilla. What does he know?
So yeah, they capture King Kong.
And King Kong, right. Yeah, he's not a Godzilla. He's like a Godzilla.
It's pretty nuts. It's capture King Kong, smash cut NYC. Like, the movie's like, nah, we're not spending time on this. And all right, look, I got some questions. A, how'd they restrain him on the boat? Did they just keep hucking bottles of chloroform in his face every 3 minutes?
They had cages and cages full of chloroform, DJ.
All right,
yeah.
All right, fine. Did they have to feed him? How did they get him from the boat to, like, whatever theater or whatever? Like, I just,
Can gorillas hibernate? They're not one of the hibernating ones, right?
No.
Yeah.
So, again, these are just questions.
These are good questions.
That's all.
I mean,
Thank
listen,
you.
We've talked about...
No one cares.
The Jurassic Park movies before. They have that one bit where the Tyrannosaurus just gets loose on the boat, kills everybody on the boat somehow, and then closes the boat again so it can land in L.A. and then just surprise escape. So I'm assuming whatever the logistics of this are make more sense than that. But I understand, like, I kind of get the interest here. I think the movie at 2 hours and 40 minutes or whatever, or maybe like 2 hours and 30 minutes knows it's time to start wrapping it up. But I do think you could use a little bit of, like, kind of falling action here, even though this isn't, like, the climax, but just, like, have the characters be like, where are you gonna go? I'm gonna go do Broadway vaudeville. Where are you gonna go? Because we get the start of the Broadway Kong show later, and then during that we're getting more exposition. And it's like, I feel like once that starts, we just have to watch that all the way through. And then the Konging starts. But we should put the pieces on the board before we go to the Kong movie. So you'd assume the Kong, like, the stage show, so you figure you would do that before, like, on the boat ride home. But yeah, there is no boat ride home.
Is this the first Kong show ever?
Has to be. No, it's not, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just, like, weird things where...
I think it's the opening. Because if that was the plan the whole time, how come it wouldn't make sense? Because why would that be the first time Kong freaked out?
Yeah, well, have a dress rehearsal to protect against that, dog.
I mean, you wouldn't take pictures at the dress rehearsal, I guess, because Kyle Chandler isn't there to Kyle Chandler about. But yeah, I guess, like, yeah, I think for the first time, like, not first time I watched it, but when I was watching this earlier today, in the beginning I did think we had seen multiple King Kong. Like, this was, night 7 or 8, but I think you're right. It has to be night 1. Because it's not a huge smash or anything. And also, no one seems to know what it is. Like, yeah. Because King Kong, for people...
It's a weird fit for Broadway. Like, come look at my big ape on Broadway.
Yeah, they tried to make a musical of this, right?
I know, you saw it.
No, I didn't. I wanted to, though.
Oh, you didn't?
I'm all for dumb bullshit. No. I think I had the choice, and I chose something else, which probably a better choice.
Oh,
but...
someone else I know saw it. Sorry,
okay.
I was thinking of someone else.
Yeah,
someone
they
else who
have
also likes to
do.
watch the dumbest Broadway musical adaptations.
Oh, who is this?
It's a friend of mine. Yeah, I'll tell you off air.
I was going to say the stage show of King Kong is also mostly racism, which is fun. They managed to take the racism from Skull Island and bring it right to 42nd Street because it's mostly just people dancing around in like tribal gear and whatever.
But I mean, okay.
But also, like,
So
what is it going to be? I don't know.
That quote unquote makes sense as
Yes.
like what the people in the 30s would do depicting mysterious natives like they did in the original King Kong. And so like you can think of a reason for it even though it isn't great. It's just I don't think I'm ever going to get over how bad the depiction of the natives in this movie is. It's so bad. Well,
yeah, and it would work in this bit. It wouldn't work in this moment if the natives were nothing or like just like kind of scared of them or something. Like they weren't classic natives, and then it'd be like, oh, Jack Black really turned the dial up to 11 on the racism because he's a bad guy. But in this, it's like, that's pretty much what you guys saw. I don't know what to tell you.
Even like the Skull Island depiction, which still is kind of sketchy because they're very othered. They're very treated as like mysterious and exotic and not like people. But at least in them, they're just kind of like sitting around being like, they don't talk because they don't know any languages the Americans know. But their whole vibe is basically like, hey, you guys should get out of here. It's not good to be here, guys. Come on.
That's true. We'll take your Ann, whatever her name is, and you guys be on your way. I think that's a fair trade. But the stage show of King Kong, and there's the bit where I don't know what I would want if I were a well-to-do New Yorker going to watch the live King Konging. Would I want a whole play that ends with King Kong showing up? Or would I want 20 minutes of just pure, here's the big giant gorilla? Because it can't be more than an hour long, right?
No.
I feel like they were kind of mostly done by the time Kong freaks out.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have been like, well, I came here to see a giant gorilla, and I just did. I mean, I don't think I need more than this.
Yeah, and that's why when it turns out that Adrian Brody is there, and where it's like, we don't really know quite what's going on. What's up?
Say your thing, but I desperately want to talk about how Adrian Brody ends up there.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, God,
but
yeah.
There were bits where I was like, oh, is he like, are they going to do a show that is the stage play of what we saw of them making the movie in the movie? Like, how many meta levels are we doing here? Because then you could have them overacting and stuff, and like it would be kind of silly. But also, I'd be like, man, I came here to see fucking King Kong, and it's 9:30. I want to see my King Kong. I got to hit traffic back to the tunnel. Like, this is, I get it. Yeah. She's in love. He's in love. Is the monkey going to show up anytime soon? But what were you saying, Diggins, about how Adrian Brody gets here?
Oh, it's so dumb.
It's pretty adorable.
As alluded to earlier, as soon as they capture Kong, we just immediately cut to opening night of Kong on Broadway. The one bit of restraint this movie ever shows. And apparently, even though they open mouth kissed on the boat, the movie has decided that they never really talked about how they felt. And I guess they didn't do it on the entire boat ride back. That must have taken, a long time because they're west of Sumatra, and they're going back to New York City on the other side.
By like a boat that's mostly broken. Taking on water as we speak.
God. Anyway, so they're like not talking. They haven't like talked, and they aren't spending time together. He has decided he wants nothing to do with Carl's Kong on Broadway production. But he has written a play inspired by Anne that is having its opening night also. And while he's sitting in on opening night of this play that he wrote, he hears the lines being spoken by one of the actors about how men need to just say how they feel. They're so silly. Men gotta... He never said how he felt, and so I didn't think that we could ever have anything. But men should just say how they feel instead of not doing that and being dumb. And this, God touches his heart. And he's like, you know what? This play's right. I've got to go tell Anne how I feel right now. And it's incredible, because he wrote the play! At no point when he wrote the play, when he edited it, when he, sent it for revisions, when he was finding a producer for the play, when he was doing rehearsals, when they were doing like tech night. At no point during any of that, when he heard the line, did it inspire him to go find Anne. But now, at this moment, on opening night, he finally heard it for like the 5,000th time in his life, and he's like, I'm right. I should go talk to Anne.
You know what they say, Diggins? It truly transforms when the audience is there and it hits on opening night. It's just different. True. Everything's different.
Well, maybe
nothing's the same.
Maybe, to be fair, this happens every single time. And he just, like, that line happens and everyone just gets out of his way because he's going to run out of the theater. But she's not doing anything that night, and there's no King Konging that night. So he just kind of putters around in Times Square and then goes back to the theater. But just she's
got, like, a restraining order on him, and there's a cop outside waiting, like, oh, you heard your own play again, huh?
Yeah, yep, page 80, huh? Okay, come on. Yeah.
Come on.
We know what's going on here. Oh, wait, King Kong, never mind. And he's like, wait a second, this is my ticket back to the big time.
I had that exact same note, Diggins. It's just like I think it's like just how bad it's like they couldn't find any other pretense for. They could have just had this stupid thing where he's at like a cafe or walking on the street and he sees like a couple being like, oh, I never knew how you felt till you told me. But no, he had to have the revelation watching a show he wrote, being like, God damn, this show's good.
Right?
Whoever wrote this show.
Have him go see her at the things. You know?
Right?
He goes to her show, and he's like, oh, wow, you know what? I get the emotion and whatever. It's all overtaken me. Or she goes to his show. They both have shows. He could go to one or... Yeah, there's so many ways he could play it.
Like,
if
at
she
least,
was in a show...
like... No, you go, DJ, you go.
I was going to say, it'd be great if like this, if the same scene happens, but not for a show that he wrote. Like, she's acting in a show that he goes to see, and she's like, well, he didn't say anything, and like, that's what does it?
Yeah. Or
maybe in a movie where it treats her as not just... That gives her slightly more of an interior life and everything, although it would be unrealistic for the setting, but also there's a giant gorilla in the movie, so who cares? Like, maybe she's become a playwright, and he's watching a play that she wrote, and it says that, and he's like, oh, she just wanted me to say how I felt. Well, I'll go do that right now, by golly.
Yes, but you don't understand again. She is a woman. She does not have the playwriter brain, as it were. Only Adrian Brody can write plays that he understands, and only he understands the true meaning of. Maybe if they made this in the 70s, you could get away with it, but not set in the 30s. And
there were definitely no women playwrights in the 30s, and nobody should tweet at Nando the names of women playwright from the 30s.
Don't you dare! I mean, you shouldn't, because it would be a waste of time. Because your tweet would be an empty tweet. You can't send a tweet with no characters in it. I guess you could put some spaces. Anyway. Then the King Kong does a King Konging. Also, it's fun because Jack Black is like the toast of Broadway, except Colin Hanks doesn't love him anymore, and that's fun.
Yeah. Well, he's got that scar. He has a scar on his cheek.
Fucking scar, dude. Sell it. You can do well with the scar. It's fun. People be like, "Oh wow, scars. Yeah. Where'd you get that?" I fucking fought King Kong. Maybe. Who cares?
Do you remember how we got that scar?
Who gave it to him? Did Yogi Bear? Yogi Bear gave it to him. Is he in that movie?
Yep.
No. Which one's he in? Is he in that?
What?
Is he in the Yogi Bear movie?
The Colin Hanks?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
That sounds right.
He's in one of those talking animal movies, and I'm like, maybe Yogi Bear gave him that scar. But yeah, he's very upset with Jack Black, even though he went to the premiere of this show. He's like, I think you would sit out. But he has to talk to Adrian Brody, I guess, and be like,
he's upset about the Kong, but also he still shows up to the premiere in a tux.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anne and Jack appear to be the only ones so upset about it that they didn't accept any money or become part of the production.
Yeah, pretty much. Although I do enjoy how they are part of the production in terms of like they are name checked and it's like it's the guy who saved everyone from Kong, but the actor won. It's him. And then it's like the wonderful woman that is the one from this movie. But then it's not her. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then King Kong makes that. And I think it's fun as an audience member because I remember having seen this movie, but seeing it again, being like, I don't think that's her, but it could be. How would I even know? And then she lifts up her face and King Kong makes the face like, huh? Like, And then you're like, oh, okay, good, that isn't her. So that's cute.
Did you see? Do you remember how Jack Black calms everyone for any potential fears they have once they reveal King Kong?
What was it? They're made of what is
chromium steel.
Yes, that's right.
And if you see, this chromium steel is attached to wood, sturdy wood that they used to make boats with.
Yeah.
They
What's
should have gotten
insane
some.
is
They should have gotten some of those vines from Skull Island. They're the strongest things on Earth.
Oh my
how
God.
could they possibly have cut them? It's just insane because, like, well, obviously, it just would have made sense for him to break free of the wood, but he just gets so mad that chromium steel don't mean shit, and he just breaks free of it.
Yeah, he rips the
I'm like,
chromium steel
just
right to
break
strips.
the wood off. That's how this shit works. Is like, at one point, there's a weaker thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, those wooden fucking poles. Whatever.
And they're like silly fake like jungle poles, like to look like the thing that it was in. So it's definitely made like styrofoam or something.
Also, Kong is super chill until the lady comes. So you could have a show that's like not with like the lady sacrifice, and Kong probably be like, I guess this is my life now. Like they race his arms all
true.
fake like in the chains, and Kong doesn't give a fuck.
Kong is awake during this. His spirit is just broken. I don't know what they've done to Kong, but he's
all that chloroform, man.
He's just very sad. He's a very sad gorilla.
He's got to get it together, man. That's all I got to say about that.
No, yeah, but then he breaks free very sillily.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Adrian Brody says to get out and what the one guy snarks back
I
at him?
do like that bit where he's like, get your own seat, kid.
Adrian Brody's like, we gotta get out of here. There's a monkey. I'm not giving up my street.
I do like that, though, like that idea that it's King Kong Day opening night and someone just comes in and he's like, guys, there's a monkey on stage. And then someone gets up and he just gets in their seat. Like, this is my seat now. I tricked ya. Finders keepers. But yeah, and then King Kong just fucking kills everybody there. I think that girl dies. I think the sound effect of King Kong picking her up and the amount of distance she goes, she's dead. Other girls later, I think survive, but her, I don't think so.
Yeah, he kind of tosses her. The other ones, he just kind of like drops, but her, she gets some distance.
I mean, he thought she was a different one. At least later in the game, he's like, this one, no. But the first one, he was like, yay, my favorite person. And then it's not her. And he's like, into the fucking moon with you. But
He yeets her, man. He fucking yeets her.
I love that scene in general because it's just like tossing chairs at rich people. Like King Kong knows that they are rich and therefore not deserving of our sympathies. So that's pretty fun. And also Jack Black runs away. Kyle Chandler also, who's introduced as like the hero who saved everybody. He runs away.
He runs away before anyone else.
Yeah, he can see this coming from a mile away. He knows that a big giant monkey is probably not a good safe thing. And he's right. And then, and then they just drive around for a while. Then the movie ends. And then they go do the end of the first King Kong movie. So do you want to talk about the driving? It's a lot of driving.
But it takes 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's way too long. It's kind of like, as a scene, it's fun because I think the scene does a good job of setting up like what's going on, where it's just like this gorilla hates Adrian Brody, and Adrian Brody's kind of got to avoid it.
There's a moment in the actual theater because Adrian Brody doesn't leaves like the last person, and so Kong locks eyes with him, and it's like, you're the one who stole my woman.
Yeah,
and just is from that point on just has a vendetta, wants Adrian Brody's blood specifically.
And there's lots of Adrian Brody bits where Adrian Brody's like running through a hallway or like running away from King Kong, and then he runs right into a hallway right as King Kong is about to get him, and it's too small for King Kong. And those are fine.
He's not used to this concrete jungle.
I think you could easily
concrete jungle.
Oh yes,
I didn't even mean to do that. Damn it!
Very, very good. I think if you wanted to hide from King Kong in New York City, it's actually not that difficult. But I know Adrian Brody's like trying to get the monkey's attention and be like, "Come here, I'm going to trick you into driving around a lot."
He's trying to save lives by getting Kong to run through several parts of the city he never would have, into crowded areas, people, bunch of cars, just basically running amok throughout the busiest parts of the city instead of just sticking to one place where people can run away.
Right? Honestly, we needed a scene where he calls his friends. It's like, where's the nearest suspension bridge? And then they drive to that clearly. like go in a straight line to a place. But it does seem like he's just kind of puttering around New York trying to show King Kong all the sights.
They could have trapped him on the Brooklyn Bridge like in Godzilla.
Would have been great. They got the planes. They were ready.
I mean, he's not big enough to be trapped,
That's
but
true.
I don't know, they could have done something fun.
He'd probably be even better on the bridge because he could like swing around and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
He's not that bad in New York either. He's good at like swinging about.
He figures it out pretty quick.
I like that one of Adrian Brody's moves seems to be like, I'm going to go underneath the train. King Kong will never be able to get me under the above ground train. And King Kong is like, what are you talking about, dude? Monkey bars. And then he just absolutely he catches up to Adrian Brody in like half a second and also destroys. Like, there are some things like that where the train is destroyed and it's like, I don't think King Kong would have gotten to that, Adrian Brody, if you didn't take him there. I think he probably would have just bounced around. I think if Adrian Brody was doing anything, it could have been like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a big inflatable thing. And then all the white women with short blonde hair, you're going to make a line. And we're going to distract the monkey until we could get chloroform, not bullets. So anybody have chloroform, we'll let you off the hook this once. If you let us have it, no questions asked. And then we'll just throw him in the river. I don't know. But, yeah, it's just a fun little chase. But, yeah, and then that's the end. Well, I guess then there's the bit where they go ice skating for a little bit. That's fun.
Oh, my God.
Release the tension.
Yeah. I liked it, except it was stupid. But I did enjoy it. I don't know. I just like that her and the monkey had a lot of chemistry.
I mean, they did. They definitely had way more chemistry than Adrian Brody did with her.
Oh, my God. So much more chemistry.
Like, I'm thinking about it now. Is there a single romantic scene between her and Adrian Brody after she meets Kong?
No, I guess not.
Because she's like yelling and wants to save Kong when they're reunited at the end. I mean, I guess she's like reaching out for his hand when he comes to rescue her. And like that seems kind of sweet. But like she goes with him, obviously. And he's holding on to her as they soar down on a giant bat monster. Mm-hmm. But yeah, after that, it's all just yelling about Kong. She's way more worried about Kong than she is about him.
Yeah, that's a good point. And she's like got a lot of like, she wants Kong to survive because she's a good person. But yeah, I think they just like he has more chemistry with Jack Black. The scenes with him and Jack Black are fun. Scenes with her and King Kong are fun. I think that's a casting mistake, if anything. But also, he had just come off an Oscar win. So I think he seemed like a get at this point. It was like, whoa, Adrian Brody, Best Picture, The Pianist, amazing. And this is just like a big mistake in casting. But yeah, they go ice skating for a little bit, then they get exploded. But then King Kong climbs up the Empire State Building.
Can I just say, there's one deleted scene, there's one like 10-second deleted scene here that you guys don't have that is really bad and that they definitely should have cut it, but is also really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where we just cut to this like truck full of soldiers at one point. Who their sergeant or whoever is like hyping them up to go beat up Kong. And then Kong runs into their truck and they all die. But what's funny about this scene is that the things he's saying are like he's racist against gorillas.
What?
This guy's going off like, listen here, we're in New York, a city built by humans for humans, and I'll be dead before I let some lice-infested gorilla get his dirty hands all over it.
Oh.
Like, this guy hates gorillas.
Well, it's weird. Think about gorillas, right? In 1933, how many people had seen a gorilla in their life, like a real life?
Well, if you live in New
zoos,
York,
right?
Yeah, there's probably gorillas at the Central Park Zoo, right?
Sure.
That would be a good interaction.
You see
He
him at
meets
the
girls
Central
at the zoo.
Park
They're so much
Zoo.
smaller.
Yeah, but besides that, like, you don't see movies. You probably don't see that many, like, pictures of gorillas. Obviously, there's not movies like this yet. So, like, gorillas used to be the hot shit, where, like, it used to be a weird axiom of Golden Age comics, where you want to sell a comic, you put a gorilla in it. That's why Superman fights gorillas all the time. And it's so weird, but it's like, the people just loved gorillas. And I wonder if King Kong is why. If they were just like that thing from movies. Almost like if we all just were like, you want to sell a fucking Spider-Man comic, but a big blue cat person. This is what the people love. They love the big blue cat people. But like it's a weird situation kind of where I feel like if you saw you could see King Kong for the first time and just go like, what the fuck is that? I have no idea. I've never seen anything like that. That seems like a like a monster from hell. Is that what that is? Where it's like, no, it's a gorilla, but bigger. Do you know what a gorilla is? No? All right, just shoot it. It's fine.
I'm sure bullets will kill it.
Yeah.
Who knows how tough the skin is, but it'll work.
Bullets are good. Like, bullets in this movie are pretty effective.
Enough bullets, you solve any problem.
Yeah.
They were in the Valley of Dark Soul Monsters, like Diggins said. What solves the problem? Rain of bullets.
They shoot the brontosauruses with bullets. They shoot some of the raptors with bullets, and it like kills the raptors pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it seems like enough bullets could pretty much take care of all these guys. And then that's kind of it. Then they do the end of Godzilla, or the end of King Kong, where it climbs up the thing and jumps around and punches some planes for the trailer. And then how does the movie end, guys?
Well, you see, Jack hops into a World War I fighter plane and shoots down all the planes that are shooting at Kong. So Kong has a free moment, and he swings across New York, leaping from building to building, until he hops into the water and swims away. And it's a happy ending. Kong is alive and will one day return for Anne so they can be together.
Honestly, I think that's how you make a second one of those. Like how you remake King Kong. Yeah, get King Kong. He doesn't die in the world.
Oh, they did. They made a second King Kong. It's called Son of Kong.
Oh, that's cool.
Who does he have the Kong son with?
I don't know. Another gorilla.
Regular gorilla or like a Kong-style gorilla? That's like...
Probably a Kong. I mean, just logistically, DJ. Probably
just
a Kong.
That gorilla
Right,
into
I get
next
it.
week. Yeah, that's pretty good though. I feel like you can definitely make that movie. I think it is weird that in Godzilla and King Kong, like the one from '98 and then this one, both movies do have some pretty clear moments where the heroes learn that the monster is actually not really that bad, or is like kind of humanized, but then they kill it anyway because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, what are we gonna do? And I guess I feel like it's funny because in the grand scheme of cinematic universes, the impulse would be don't kill the Godzilla and don't kill the King Kong, so we can do more King Kongs and more Godzillas. But back in the day, it was just like, well, yeah, I mean, they have to kill it, otherwise they live in fear, which is weird. But yeah. So that's the whole movie. What do we think? Is that all right?
It's too long, man. It's
Yeah.
too long.
But not bad.
Jack Black was good, and he says beauty killed the beast. He says that line. That's fun.
It's not a bad movie. I just don't like it. It's like I said, it's too much Skull Island for me.
Not enough not Skull Island, if you ask me.
Yeah, there should have
not
been
enough.
more New York in this movie.
Yeah, they should have been eating pizza. Where was the fucking pizza?
Yeah, shawarma. They could go to the
Gabagool.
shawarma place.
I wanted at least 20 minutes of ice skating.
Oh my god.
I want to see all of Jack Black's rejected pitches. I want to see him go from town to town and just fail upwards, like a Hollywood executive tends to do. But yeah, I didn't hate it. Do we like this better than Godzilla 1998?
Oh hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's not fair though.
No. I mean, I think we have to like kind of at the end of this know which one was the best and worst of all of the 2020 Godzilla's movies, and this is so far number 2 or number 1.
I think the only movie that might possibly be worse than Godzilla 98 is King of Monsters, because that movie is truly terrible.
Yeah, I think King of Monsters is maybe worse. I think King of Monsters is really boring.
And by the way,
This is pretty bad.
I know we did it, you and I, Nando.
We did.
But maybe we have to do it again now that we have Diggins. Fresh perspective.
If I thought that movie was good, then I would agree, but I mostly agree with you guys. That movie's pretty bad.
Okay, fair. Worse than 98?
I don't know about that.
I have to watch it again.
At least the monster designs in that movie are good.
That's true.
That makes sense. All right. Well, do you guys want to get to our classic segment?
I do. So this isn't my rec. I just want to it's more of a shout out. So I finally watched Wolfwalkers. I'm obviously not going to recommend it because that's been done to death on this podcast. But it's everything Diggins said. It's
DJ, that's
perfect.
your classic move, recommending something
Yeah.
that already
See,
recommended.
That's why I'm not recommending it. I'm trying to go against character with this one. I'm like, well, I can't do that, right? I just have to mention that I saw it and that Diggins was right. Diggins, this is the you were right parade. That's all.
You're
this
right.
is.
I shouldn't have interrupted this. Please go ahead.
Wow, Diggins just turned it into the DJ is right parade for a second by telling
my
DJ that he
God.
was right. Everyone in this parade is going to throw up. from just being so sick from all this whiplash.
Nando, have you watched it yet?
Oh my god, DJ! I wrecked it like the week after he wrecked it.
Oh shit!
I like this. I saw it like I think honestly after he gets said on the podcast, I might have watched it that night or maybe the night after. And I thought it was great.
I was so late to the party. I signed up for Apple TV Plus the free week because I wanted to watch the Charlie Brown Valentine's Day special because I love watching all the Charlie Brown things during the holidays. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta watch Wolfwalkers before my thing expires. So I did that the day before my free trial expired. Not getting my money, Apple, but anyway, it is seriously good. My actual rec is another game from Xbox Game Pass, truly the Netflix of gaming. Just try and sample a little stuff. This is a game that it's called Out of the Park Baseball 21. So I don't think it comes out every year, but what it is, it's a baseball management simulator. So what you do is you're the GM for, like, you pick a real baseball franchise, and you could have it so it's like actual players of rosters are available, but it goes all the way back to like the 1800s. And you can manage a team from any starting point, but like I've started in like 1876 or something like that, and the Yankees have won like 80 World Series. I'm the best.
Can you pick like old schooly players that have records that are wildly inflated because of racism and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, so you could do it one of two ways. You could have fake players, fake stats, real players, fake stats, or real players, real stats. Huh. It's weird because it's like with real players, real stats, you know who's going to be good when they're young, so you just grab them.
Yeah, that's
it
true.
kind of takes off some of the challenge. So like I redid it where it's like random stats, and obviously that makes it harder. But like for learning the mechanics of the game, if you like were to try this game, like for learning like the mechanics of the game, and if like you know baseball, it like helps with the learning curve by just having real players and real stats. Like let me pick up this Albert Pujols character when he's young. It's like let's get this Mickey Mantle, and basically just made the like 50s Yankees who won like 10 World Series in like 12 years, but I did that across multiple decades.
You're like Billy Bean if instead of finding a Jonah Hill, he found like a sports almanac from Back to the Future.
Exactly.
It's like, I know what it is. It's not on base percentage. Machine, right? It's whether or not they are a big star in the future. I don't think he has a southern accent. Anyway, that movie's great. So this game is on. Do you play it? Like, do you hit the ball? Or do you just move the things? Okay.
Yeah, games just happen.
Gotcha.
There might be a mode where you could, like, simulate the actual games, but it's not, like, the point of the game itself, right?
Right.
And it's, like, it's nice because, like, if I'm doing work or something, like, it'll be just something I have, like, running on in the background. It's kind of like Cookie Clicker, but, like, baseball. And then, like, when decisions make up, you just kind of, like, pause what's going on.
I do not know what Cookie Clicker is. Can you explain this? I'm curious.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, what is that?
Oh, it's just it was like a web game. I think from like when we were in college, where like you clicked on this cookie to make more cookies, and then you could buy upgrades to like an auto clicker, and you're just trying to get all the Diggins, you must know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know all about the cookie clickers.
Tedious as hell.
I'm like shocked Nando doesn't know what this is.
Never heard of it.
But
I'm looking at it now. I've never
Nando,
seen it.
Is you start by you click the cookie and you get cookies, but you can spend those cookies to buy upgrades, including automatic cookie generating sources. Starting
like
with
grandmas.
You buy a sweet grandma, and she bakes you, a couple cookies every couple minutes. But then you get like cookie factories. You colonize a planet and fill it full of cookie baking automatons. Things
cookie
of that
black
nature.
Holes or
Cookie
the reverse
black
of black
holes.
holes, I guess.
That just spit out cookies constantly at an exponential rate. And so, before long, you're automatically gaining cookies at a rate that far exceeds what you could do if you were just clicking.
It sounds fun.
It builds.
I totally missed this.
I'm like shocked.
I know, and I like cookies too.
Huh. Like, how did this pass you? Yeah, it's just. Yeah.
I was just too busy high-fiving people and doing kickflips in the schoolyard and stuff. I missed all this cookie
people
clicking.
like people stream this. You go on. I'm pretty sure you go on Twitch and find people streaming Cookie Clicker. Let's see if I can find like an insane.
Oh my
one.
god!
Anyway,
is that how we're going to revert? I feel like we've been reverting a lot from like cool games to like Among Us to Minecraft. Is Cookie Clicker like the next level of old?
Well, it's old at this point.
With
like
bad graphics.
Cookie Clicker is like old hat. Like
so was Minecraft, and look at where we are.
But yeah. Anyway, all that aside, Out of the Park Baseball 21. It's on Xbox. It's on Xbox Game Pass. If you're a fan of baseball, I definitely recommend it. If you're not, might not be for you. But sometimes it's like weird, like management simulators attract people, even if the thing itself isn't. Super interesting. Give it a shot, I'd say.
Cool.
One last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
Nice thing about it, if you do have it on Game Pass, you can play it on your phone, and like the phone UI is like pretty seamless, and it's just something you have like running in the background, like I said. So that's nice too. I played an old version of this game I had on my my laptop, and I would play it on planes because it's just like a mindless thing you do on a plane. So. Huh. Yeah, remember planes, guys?
Oh, yeah.
So that's all I'll say about that.
They make it really easy to get to the King Kongs. Now it's so easy. You used to have to get on a boat and crash the boat and everything, and then you just get on a plane.
Yeah. So, all right, that's it. I'm shut up now.
Diggins, what about you? You got anything to recommend to the fine people?
I do. So I watched a movie the other day, a new movie that released on Netflix, and I really, really loved it. So... I'm going to recommend it to these fine people. It's called I Care a Lot.
Yes. I watched this as well.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Nice.
I love a movie with the grifter. I'll take a grifter movie any day.
Yeah, so then for DJ and I guess the audience's benefit, I Care a Lot is a movie starring Rosamund Pike as Marla Grayson, who's a professional guardian, which is a person who... when the elderly or otherwise incapacitated people need legal guardians, but they either don't have any family who can take on the role, or the family is proven to be doing an inadequate job of it. Like they're taking advantage of them or something. The court can appoint a professional guardian to look after their well-being. They get put in charge of their estate and everything, and they get to make decisions about where they should be kept and paying their bills and whatnot. So she is someone who does that, but she is a scam artist, and she has an unscrupulous doctor write fake notes about how these old people are not mentally fit, and then forces them into a facility run by another friend of hers that she probably pays off, so she can steal all their money, which is pretty horrific. But the plot of the movie is that she does this to someone who looks like the perfect mark, who really has no family, but turns out to be connected to this ruthless mobster played by Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's great.
And so
sorry.
The movie's about like the two of them clashing, like him trying to get her to release his mom and her trying to get him to pay her off.
Yeah, there were so many points in this like end of the first act when they when characters started doing things and things didn't quite add up. And because I hadn't watched the trailer for this, I could kind of tell that this would be fun. But like the end of the first act, and me and the person I was watching with this was like, she bit off more than she could chew. She bit off more than she could chew. And then like a couple minutes later, that moved on to, she messed with the wrong bitch. She messed with the wrong bitch. Like she's gonna get it, and that's exactly what happens. It's great.
There was like an hour 15 in. I was like, the movie's 2 hours long. Like an hour 15 in. Nando, you probably know the point I'm talking about. I'm not going to describe it for your spoilers, but I was just like, in my head, I was like, how is this not the end of the movie right now?
Yeah.
But then it just keeps going, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's a wild, it's wild.
Apparently, a lot of audiences don't like it because the characters are very unlikable, which is true, but it's kind of the point.
Yeah, I mean, you watch a movie about a grifter, they're going to suck. But I think it's a fun, it's fun because there's so many points in it where you're like, who am I rooting for? I want just this to happen to all of them. Who do I want it to happen to first? What's my best case scenario here?
Who here is the least awful person? And the answer is nobody.
Trafficking
They're all
young
the most
people
awful
trafficking old people. Like, what's the value of that? Like, Yeah, no, it's an interesting, and I think all the bit players, all the like skeevy homeowners and stuff are all pretty fun. And yeah, Peter Dinklage is great. You know who I really liked was what's his name? The guy from fucking All That Stuff. I don't know what he's from. He's not from New Girl, but he seems like he might be from New Girl. I'm talking about.
Oh, the guy playing the lawyer?
Yeah, fancy lawyer guy.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
But yeah, interesting. I like that a lot. And that's like part of Netflix is like, we're making a movie every week. If all of them were as good as this, I'd be very happy with Netflix. I have a feeling they won't all be as good. But still, there were some solid ones. This was a pretty solid movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Oh, and then what's his name was the guy from fucking what was that guy? Who's the judge? The judge was the guy from The Wire who says that line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he plays Senator Clay Davis, who longtime listeners of the podcast will know says the infamous line, "I'll take any motherfucker's money if he's giving it away."
That's right.
Boom.
Yeah. Oh, and I know
you
who
get
this.
paid every time you say that.
We should. If they're giving it away, we'll get paid for it. The guy, by the way, the actor is Chris Messina, who plays, among others, the weird tattoo guy from Birds of Prey. He's other stuff. He's Victor Zsasz. That's who that's supposed to be, right? But he's like the Mindy Project and Sharp Objects. He's good in Sharp Objects. But yeah, I like him a lot, and I did enjoy him in that. I feel like he's the kind of guy that would just be in like The Big Short, but I don't know where. But he seems like that kind of character actor.
Probably playing some kind of smarmy executive, right?
Yeah, right. Like getting one over on the people. But yeah, he was that movie was fun. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. So that's my rec.
Cool. I'm going to recommend. I spent a lot of this weekend doing some reading. I watched that. You know what I finished this week? I finished the Muppets Now show. It's only 6 episodes of it. This was the new Muppets thing from like a year ago that premiered on Disney Plus, and it's like shorts. I've talked about it before on the show, but I finished it finally, and it was really fun, and I wish they made more of those. I also tried, because I was trying to scratch that Muppets itch, because I watched the first episode of the old Muppets show, and I'm like, I'm enjoying this, but it's kind of like dated, and I wonder what, like that one that they made that was Modern Family, I wonder if that's any good, and it's fine. They really managed...
the ABC one?
Yeah, they managed to make all the Muppets incredibly unlikable, except for Fozzie. Fozzie is cool, but everybody else is a jerk, and it's kind of weird, but it's still got some of the humor that works for Muppets.
So that Muppet show is the first show I ever reviewed on a weekly basis.
Oh,
nice.
Does it get better? Because I only watched the first one.
I think so, yeah. And especially that thing you just mentioned where all the characters are unlikable, that definitely changes over time. Okay. It gets a lot softer towards the end, but they never had more than one season because it wasn't that great.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like the Muppets as a concept is something that you really can plug into almost any, not almost any, but they are very malleable in terms of like, well, let's make a Muppets, let's remake Spider-Man, but with Muppets, and you'd be like, yeah, I'd watch that. Let's make a long-running show where all the Muppets have storylines and stuff, where it's like, is that really what they're for? Because I think the Muppets Now show is a way better version of a like new take on the Muppets, and it just gets me really like I just found myself laughing at that a lot more. The one thing that I think the internet came around on this week that I really want to check out, I might do it maybe not tonight, maybe tomorrow, is Muppets Most Wanted, the sequel with like Amy or Tina Fey and stuff. I've never seen that, but I saw some people this week that were like, yo, it's pretty good. So I'm down for that.
You know what's very topical right now on this topic?
What?
The pilot for that Muppet show on ABC, which isn't part of... I don't know if that was a part of what you watched, because I don't know if they put that up, but it's on YouTube. You can find it easily.
Oh.
Has a really sick burn on Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, really? Oh.
I think it's Elizabeth Olsen.
What is the burn? If you would be funnier if I watched it. Or...
I'll just say it. You'll get it. The idea of the pilot is it's actually them pitching the show itself, because that's kind of what the show is. You know how it's like, it's very 30 Rock behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's definitely not the episode that I saw. So this is all new.
Okay. So they're like sitting around a table trying to brainstorm ideas about how they can, juice it up so that the executives will buy it. And just not having been in the scene previously, just suddenly there, Elizabeth Olsen goes, oh, what if we had a bunch of stars show up, as in cameos. And Kermit's like, well, that's great, Elizabeth Olsen. Do you know any?
Oh my god!
They have a similar bit in the first episode with Tom Bergeron, where Tom Bergeron is like the guest host that they get to fill in because Elizabeth Banks and Miss Piggy have beef that Kermit hasn't quite figured out yet, but he's like, I have to cut her. So he gets Tom Bergeron.
It's Elizabeth Banks, not Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Dang, I'm sorry. I messed up.
Elizabeth
and that
Olsen
makes sense
because
the movie connection.
Elizabeth Olsen at that point seems too, even new for that joke to work. Also, movie connection. What movie, DJ?
Isn't Elizabeth Banks in...
You're thinking Amy
one
Adams,
of those Muppets?
I think. Or is she in the Muppets movies?
I thought she was in one of those newer
ones. DJ, you're thinking of Pitch Perfect. She's in the Pitch Perfect movies.
Very easy mistake to make.
And Anna Kendrick does have a Muppet-esque features. There could be a Muppet version of her, No,
I'm so wrong on this. Who am I thinking of?
I think it's Amy Adams.
I guess so.
And she's the main one. Oh, okay.
Or
yeah.
Amy Adams, who
Fey...
should have an Oscar.
Oh, my God.
Tina Fey in one of those?
Yeah, Tina Fey's in the second one, when I was just talking about. Yeah,
that's
the second new one.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Oh, so it looks like they take some of the bits from the pilot that you just sent over, and they put it in because the bit with the girlfriend parent thing is the same exact scene except with Ricky Lindholm. I think that's her name.
No. Well, I mean, that's how unaired pilots tend to be. They reuse jokes from them.
But yeah, so I think as far as Muppet humor goes, definitely the Muppets Now show. It's only 6 episodes. It's very funny. The Pepe bits are great. The Swedish Chef bits are great. I think they do a good job of incorporating people as part of the show, and I think they do a good job of making everyone kind of a jerk, but also kind of still likable and silly. Yeah, I really dug it. I would say I always I've spent the last couple of weeks just not the last couple of weeks, last while, but I've been really chowing down on old X-Men comics, and not that old, but I've been trying to fill in the backlog. So I finished the Grant Morrison ones last week. This week I started Jason Aaron, who wrote Thor. So he wrote the Thor that is what the 4th movie is based on, which is like Thor where he fights Gore. So not Mighty. I think he maybe did write Mighty Thor, but anyway. And he's a fun writer. He wrote a series called Wolverine and the X-Men, which was Wolverine starting the Jean Grey School for Mutants, and it's just him being kind of not good at being a teacher. And it's pretty funny. It, I think, would happen, I don't know when this takes place, maybe in the 2015s, maybe. So it's I guess right around when Cyclops turned into a revolutionary, which is another series that I'm working on, except Amazon just refuses to deliver the book that I need. But I think that's a lot of fun. I think Jason Aaron's he's a good writer, and he's got a lot of he's been getting a lot of attention recently, probably mostly because of Thor. I want to say I'm looking through his comic IMDb to figure out what else he wrote that I think is popular. I don't know what it is. But yeah, so that is fun. I was also reading what else did I read this week? I read something else that was good. Oh, you know what I read, DJ? This is a crazy, not a crazy one, but so this, I don't want to say it got lost in my box of comics and my comic shuffles. Remember forever ago, you bought me the Batman Incorporated comic?
Oh, yeah.
Finally read it. It was really good. It's so
nice.
For people that don't know, this is another Grant Morrison one, speaking of X-Men writers, and it's Batman is there's something going on in the world that needs more Batman. So what I'm going to do as Bruce Wayne, public figure, is start a Batman company where I kind of I go to Japan and be you're kind of like Batman. Do you want help? And also you'll be the Batman. And then people will just be well, I don't want to fuck with Batman. I don't give a shit about Mr. Nobody or whatever that guy's called. So what they did was, it seems because they kind of talk about this at the end of the book, they took a lot of the other versions of Batman that have been kind of thrown into comics in the 70s real quick and then kind of never happened, the Native American Man of Bats, and they made a couple of issues about him, and they do the same thing for the British one and the Mexican one and all of the other ones, and it's it's pretty fun. It's really weird. So it's got a very Grant Morrison-y kind of not where is this going, but you just kind of got to go with them on it. But it's very it's really cool, and I want to say it's drawn by I think it's Stuart Immonen. who's really good. Yannick Paquette. That's who it is. Who's just a very good writer good artist who works with Grant Morrison on the Wonder Woman book I read. Anyway, good books. All good books. I have one of the things that I just picked up that I'm actually pretty excited about is a new series that is they're calling it X-Men Legends, and it's some sort of like redoing of the
video game.
It kind of, but not really. But yes, I played those. Those were great. It's like it kind of feels like an old schooly like Scott Summers story that's supposed to kind of fill in their history. I don't know how it gels with the continuity that's going right now, but I am looking forward to that. So I haven't given that a look yet. But yeah, those are like my recs. I don't think I've watched anything besides like your WandaVisions and stuff like that. That's like new content. Although I'm almost done with Ted Lasso. I'm one episode from finished, so I'm happy about that. Speaking of things you could watch on your Amazon or Apple TV Plus trial, DJ, you have a week or
it's gone now.
Oh, it's already gone. Okay, well,
it's dead and buried.
I have more than one email.
Oh, don't tell Steve Jobs that.
The ghost of Steve Jobs.
Yeah, they don't put this podcast out. We say it's wherever you listen to your podcasts, but we don't count the afterlife.
Not Hellcast.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would say, if you have Apple TV Plus, Ted Lasso is fun. What are we doing next week, guys?
Well, according to Diggins, the best Godzilla movie ever made.
I'll take it.
Well, hold on. No one ever said that.
Diggins says this is the best time Godzilla has ever been on a movie. Better than all the Japanese ones. What the fuck is his name? Aaron Taylor Johnson is the best character in a Godzilla movie.
That might be true.
Yeah, actually. I mean, definitely in the American ones. I would say the Godzilla that does that drop kick is a better character than any of the human ones in any of these movies.
I meant a human character.
Yeah.
Might be the best human character. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen all the classic Godzillas. But anyway, it's the best American Godzilla.
Kyle Chandler puts in a performance that is just aching to learn something from the Kyle Chandler in the movie we just watched. Like it's like, oh, dude, just take an ounce of what you brought. Remember when they draw the mustache on him on the poster, and he's like, mustache. That was so great.
Was
Stuff like that.
Funny.
Just fucking yeah. So Godzilla 2014. Cool. Anybody got anything to plug?
Same Roses and Rejections podcast on the Pop Break Podcast Network.
Did they find The Bachelor yet? Did they get him?
No, he's still on the loose.
Oh, God. I got to get that guy. What about you, Diggins?
So by the time this goes up, I will likely have a review for I Care a Lot run at the Pop Break. I might also have an essay about it run on my newsletter, alittleperspective.substack.com, to check that out. Obviously, there will be two different... The thing on the Pop Break is just going to be a straight review. The thing on my newsletter is more of an argument about a theme of the movie.
Cool.
So check those out.
Alrighty.
And I have a video. I'm putting a video out soon. I think it's on the Patreon now. About Vulture and maybe, who knows, some WandaVision thing, but probably not this week. Probably a week after when it's all done. Because it's almost done. It's crazy.
Are we going to cover WandaVision when it's done?
Probably should. People have been asking for it, but also, like, I don't know what the, I just don't know what the conversation about it will be, because I feel like we'll all just be like, yeah, it was good. It was weird that they did that thing that no one likes, and it was good that they did the thing that everybody likes, and the things that everybody has decided don't make sense. It's like if we were reviewing all of Game of Thrones at the very end of the season. I feel like we either have to do weekly short reviews, or, I don't know. The format is tricky.
Yeah,
maybe we'll have whatever movie we're doing the week after it ends. We'll do like a WandaVision discussion at the start, like we did for The Mandalorian.
Yeah,
but I don't think a full podcast is necessary.
Yeah, I agree. So next week, Godzilla 2014. I think it's on one of the HBOs, right? On like HBO Max. You would hope. Because that's the one that's getting, it's like releasing.
You'd think
same
at least
day.
for the build up to Godzilla vs. Kong, they'd put that and Skull Island on there, right?
I know King of Monsters is. I'm not positive about the other ones though. But I know that neither of these. Well, King Kong, the one we just watched, was not on HBO Max, and I was like, why am I even bothering then? What's the point?
Oh my God, it's not.
Why? What are they doing? What did we do to deserve this fucking streaming nightmare that we live in? Where we never have access to the things. It's just
it's
stupid.
It's so stupid.
Like, we could watch Godzilla vs. Megalon, which I think is the one that you were talking about, where it does the kick. That one's on HBO Max. You can watch Son of Godzilla, HBO Max. This is so stupid. All right, well, everybody can find it on their own. I'm sure it's on one of the 80 streaming services. Remember when Netflix showed up, we were all like, this is a good idea, but I hope this doesn't turn out the way it is, where now there's 80 Netflixes, and it's like, it's so silly.
It is silly.
It's dumb. It was the best days were the ones where it was just one. It's just like Godzilla. The more Godzillas you put into the movie, the less good the movie is. The more Netflixes there are, the less good the world is.
Maybe there'll be some kind of service that bundles all the streaming services together into one package.
Honestly, if they sold you $50 and it was like Cable Plus, and it was just cable again, but with Disney Plus, like, it's weird because we are getting stuff that we wouldn't have gotten, right? Like Mandalorian, I don't know where that would have gone besides Disney Plus. So there's something to be said for why these exist, but it is like, what the fuck is Paramount Plus? That's not going to exist. Like, nobody gives a shit about Paramount. They're going to have to bundle that with other stuff.
It's going to have Avatar Studios and the new Rugrats.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, just like they rebranded HBO Max and all that. It's Paramount Plus is just CBS All Access rebranded.
Well, yeah, but at least HBO is a brand that people kind of understand. Like Paramount, it's like, what the fuck is one Paramount project? You could say HBO, it's like, yeah, Sopranos, Game of Thrones. But so many of these where it's even like CBS, I'm like, yeah, what does that even mean? Who subscribes to that?
Picard.
Yeah, that's true. Star Trek fans, people that like that one. I'll never stop talking about it, but that one episode of The Twilight Zone where what if the plane was a podcast? Anyway, guys, this has been great. We will talk about Godzilla next week. Until then, I'm at Nando V Movies on Twitter.
I'm at Zippy by Day.
I'm at This Is an Odd Name.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye. We love you.